that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Brother B.A. Ben Abraham, and I'm your host of the Man Up segment on Debate Talk For You platform. The objective is for all brothers from different walks of life to come together, link up, and build on matters concerning all various stages of life. If anyone would like to reach out on concepts and ideas, you can reach Brother B.A. at radicalrhyme1984@gmail.com. Again, radicalrhyme1984@gmail.com. Tap in. Let's build. Shalom. Shalom.
Peace and greetings to you. This is Amuna Yisrael, affectionately known as the First Lady of Debate Talk For You. I have enjoyed coming to you week after week, season after season, growing together, speaking about the difficult topics, investing the energy, time, and effort with our brothers and sisters on the panel. Today, I would like to come to you with an opportunity for you to invest in something that I've been working on and that's near and dear to me. It's called the Yummy Cottage. You can learn more about it at www.gofundme.com/the Yummy Cottage. We're currently fundraising so that we can get it off the ground, and your help would be appreciated. Once again, www.gofundme.com/the Yummy Cottage. Check the link in the box and hope to hear from you soon.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Yeah, peace. First of all, I want to say I'm going to have to compile this into a very compacted information. This is really a 2 or 3 hour session, but we're going to try to, compact this very quickly. What people need to realize about the Bible is that the Bible is the greatest book ever written on the planet Earth. But the Bible is a mystery and a parable. The whole book is a mystery and a parable. And I'm going to start off by going to Josephus. Now, people go to Josephus as a historian, and my opponent might even try to go to Josephus and try to explain where the Garden of Eden is. Many people have tried to explain and even search for the Garden of Eden. Look up the diaries of Columbus. Columbus thought he discovered the Garden of Eden in Venezuela. Marco Polo went looking for the Garden of Eden. You can look up this information. Some thought it was in China. But let's see what Josephus, the historian, says about the works of Moses. Now, in the Antiquities of the Jews in chapter 1, he begins to talk about the first chapter of the Bible. And he starts off with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And he goes through all those stages. And then when you come to verse 33, this is what Josephus says about Moses after the 6 days and referring to the 7th day. According to Moses, says that in just 6 days the world and all that is therein was made, and that the 7th day was the rest, and a release from the labor of such operations. Whence it is that we celebrate a rest from our labors on that day and call it the Sabbath, which word denotes rest in the Hebrew tongue. Moreover, Moses, after the 7th day was over, begins to talk philosophically and concerning the formation of man, says thus, that God took dust from the ground and formed man and inserted in him a spirit and a soul. This man was called Adam, which is in the Hebrew tongue signifies one that is red, because he was formed out of the red earth, compounded together for that for of that kind is virgin and true earth. Now, Josephus says, actually I left it over, he said he begins to talk philosophically and enigmatically concerning the 7th day. Now, what I want y'all to do is listen closely, and I'm going to give you a definition of enigmatic that Joseph refers to as Moses writing about the 7th day after the 6th-day creation. Here's what enigmatic means. Not clear to the understanding, Then they give examples. I didn't grasp the meaning of the enigmatic comment until much later. Also, prophetic texts so enigmatic that their meaning has been disputed for centuries. Enigmatical, puzzling. This is from dictionary.com. Uncomprehensible, incomprehensible, difficult to understand. The most incomprehensible thing about the universe, as an example, is that it is incomprehensible. This is what Einstein said. Definition 2, enigmatic, resembling an oracle, an obscurity of thought, the oracular sayings of Victorian poets, so enigmatic that priests have to clarify it in enigmatic style. Ambiguous, having more than one possible meaning, ambiguous words, frustrated by ambiguous instructions. So, we see that Josephus himself says that Moses, talking about chapter 2 of the creation, speaks enigmatically. I'll let y'all decipher that yourselves. Now let's go to what the Bible says when I say the Bible is a parable and a mystery. If we go to Matthew 13:3, we see that it says, the same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside, and the great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that they went into the ship and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things to them in parables, saying, behold, a sower went forth to sow, and when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside. So again, everyone knows that parable. I'm not going to go through with that. But you'll see that Christ spoke in parables. If we go to chapter 10 of the same chapter, it says, and the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For so whoever hath, to him it shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see and see not, and hear and they hear not, neither do they understand. Now, if you go into the book of Hebrews, or I believe it's the book of Peter, it tells you that Christ is the express person of the Father. Now, when you see express person, this means express personality, meaning that everything that this story represents with Christ is showing you how the Father deals with people. So when you see Christ in the gospel speaking to the people, it's showing you the express personality of the whole book. Because if you believe that Christ is God, then you believe that Christ is the one that gave the word. So he's showing you his personality. He's showing you how he deals with the people. So if we go to verse 14, it says, and in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, by hearing, ye shall not hear, and ye shall not understand, and seeing, ye shall not see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes and hear with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. Matthew 13:34-35. All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophecy, and I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Verse 45, and when the chief priests and Pharisees heard his parables, they perceived that he spake of them. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitude because they took him for a prophet. So we can see the very nature of the book, the very nature of Christ. He said, I do not speak to them except in parables, in the flesh, in the person. The same person who Josh believes, according to his belief, gave the Bible to the people. Let's go on. Matthew 22:1, and Jesus answered and spoke unto them again by parables, and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that was bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Again, we see Christ speaking in parables. In Mark 4:11, he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God. That Greek word is mysterion. I encourage y'all to go look up the word. But unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables, that seeing they may not see and not perceive, and hearing they might hear and not understand. Lest at any time they should be converted, their sins should be forgiven them. Now they all had eyes. They all had ears. Why couldn't they see? Why couldn't they hear? We'll get to that later. Then we got the parable of the sower. Everyone knows the parable. The sower sowed the word, and these are they by the wayside where the word is sown. But when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and take away the word that was sown in their hearts. And these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, so forth and so forth. Another parable. He only spoke to his disciples in secret and expounded to them all things. So I'm telling to you to show you the very nature of the one you call the Messiah and how he deals to the people. He said he only spoke to the multitude in parables. And I tell you today, Josh is a part of that multitude. Mark 14:13, and he said unto them, know ye not this parable? How then will ye know all parables? What is all parables referring to? And with many such parables spoke he the word unto them, and they were able to hear it. But without a parable spake he not unto them. And when they were alone, he expounded all things to his disciples. What is this? This is mystery system. This is secrecy. I don't care how you try to cut it, how you try to. If he didn't tell everybody something, and he told his disciples in secret, this is called a mystery system. Some of you talk about the Masons and the secret system. This is a secret society. So when you read in the book, you're reading the mystery system. We're going to go more into that and prove that Paul even spoke about the mystery system, and Paul was a Mason, a master builder. But we ain't even going to go there yet. And his disciples asked him in Luke 8, 9, and 10, saying, what might this parable be? And he said, unto you is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God, but to others in parables, that seeing they may not see, and hearing they may not hear. Romans 11:25. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Romans 16:25. Now to him that is of power to establish you according to my gospel and preaching of Jesus Christ, according to the revelation of the mystery which was kept secret before the world began, but now is made manifest by the scriptures of the prophets, according to the commandment of the everlasting God, made known to all nations for the obedience of faith. 1 Corinthians 2:7, but we speak wisdom of God in a mystery. What kind of mystery is a talking snake? That is no mystery. That's foolishness. Even the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the world unto our glory. 1 Corinthians 15:51, behold, I show you a mystery. That's Greek mysterion. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment. In the twinkling of an eye at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall not be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So now we're getting into mortality, immortality. This is relating back to the garden. Wasn't Adam supposed to be immortal before the fall? So what happened after the fall? We'll get into that. Ephesians 3:3, how that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery, as I wrote afore in few words, whereby when ye read, ye may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Christ, which in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit. These guys don't even understand that this is a mystery. And the mystery is being unfolded. The whole book is wrote in code. Go study mystery systems. Ephesians 3:9, to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery. Even fellowship is a mystery, which from the beginning of the world have been hid in God who created all things by Jesus Christ. Colossians 1 and 2 and 6. Even the mystery which have been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints, whom God will make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory, that the hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love, and unto all riches of full assurance of understanding. Colossians 4 and 3, while praying also for us that God will open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in bonds, that I make manifest as I ought to speak. So we see mysteries are spoken in the Spirit. It's not even just something that's always written in the Scripture, meaning that the Spirit can reveal a mystery to you. That's called revelation. And check this out, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 7, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Even iniquity, lawlessness is a mystery. If it's not literal, if it is literal, it is not a mystery. Only who will now let until he be taken out. Y'all know the scripture. Check this out, 1 Timothy 3 and 9. Even faith is a mystery, holding the mystery of faith in a pure conscience. 1 Timothy 3 and 16. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. Godliness is a mystery. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of the angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up in the glory. Revelation 10 and 7. But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God shall be finished, as he hath declared to his servants of the prophets. You don't even get the full understanding of God until the seventh angel appears in Revelation. Psalm 78 and 2, I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings. Proverbs 1 and 6, a wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsel. To understand a proverb and their interpretation, the words of the wise and the dark sayings. Now let's get into, I wanted to do that to show you that the book is telling you all through the whole book it's a parable and a mystery. But then the symbolism is quite explained. It's not a secret. Let's talk about the garden. Let's talk about the serpents. What is a serpent? Let's go to the dictionary. Serpent, literally a large snake. It even has a biblical name for Satan. A noun, serpent. The serpent, a dragon or other mythological snake-like reptile. Hold up. A sly or treacherous person, especially one who exploits a position of trust in order to betray it. Genesis 3 and 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made, and he said unto the woman, yea, God said, y'all know the story. But what about Genesis 49 and 17? Dan shall be a serpent, by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. What about Numbers 21 and 9? And Moses made a serpent of the brass and put it upon a pole. I guess he was putting the devil upon a pole. And it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived. So now the serpent has went from the devil to healing people. See, the serpent was an enigmatic figure, a double-edged sword. We'll get into that later on. What about 2 Kings 18 and 4? He removed the high places and broke the images and cut down the groves and break in pieces the brazen serpent that Moses had made. For unto those days that the children of Israel did burn incense to it and called it Nahashtan. They was worshiping this serpent at one point. Psalms 58 and 3. My opponent did a blog talk show the other day and confounded himself. He was talking about the serpent seed, and he went through the whole show and proved how the serpent was symbolic. And he went through these scriptures and said there's no physical serpent seed, it's all symbolic. But then it's literal too. We're going to get in how it's impossible for that to be literal. He read Psalms 58 and 3, I believe, when he said the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Characteristic of a serpent, Psalms 58 and 4. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth the ear. Psalms 58 and 5, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. You're right, Josh. It is a characteristic because the word nakash does not mean snake. It means serpent. Did you know that a snake is not the only serpent? But if you go to the root word, it means magician, enchanter. I guess this snake was sitting around with a magic wand. It is a characteristic. It's describing something. Did you know that a Komodo dragon is a serpent, Josh? So it never said snake. That was just religious interpretation. The word is not snake. If you look up the root word of nakash, you will get nakash again, enchanter. What about Ecclesiastes 10 and 11? Surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and the babbler is no better. Because of time, I'm not going to go through all the serpent scriptures, but I just want to introduce to y'all that the Bible is symbolic all the way, and it tells you that. We will go further into it. He's going to try to tell you about some literal.
Thank you, Sal. And I'm just listening to this guy just ramble on, and it's obvious that he just got a eSword or a strong concordance and just looked up everywhere the word mystery appears in the Bible and just threw that together and say, see, it's a mystery. The dumbest thing I heard this brother say was that the whole Bible is a parable. I don't know if he even knows the definition of the word parable. But if you say the whole Bible is a parable, that means everything in it is also a parable. A parable, sisters and brothers, is a fictitious story. Look it up. That's the Greek definition for parable as used by Jesus Christ when he said parables. So he don't understand, or maybe he does, that he's telling y'all that the whole Bible is a lie. It's fiction. When you say the whole Bible is a parable, that's what you're saying. But you're wrong, because the very Bible itself that you claim is a whole parable tells you that Jesus spoke in parables when he talked. But then there were times when people talked to him plainly. So if there are times when Jesus spoke in parables and times when he spoke plainly, then common sense should tell anybody the whole Bible can't be a parable. Because there were times where Jesus said, he said, beware of the leaven of the scribes and Pharisees. His disciples thought he was talking about literal leaven from bread, because they didn't buy any bread or bring any bread. Then he said, beware of the doctrine of the Pharisees. Was that a parable too? When he said, beware of the doctrine of the Pharisees, he was speaking plainly when he said that. But that's also in the Bible. So you can't paralyze, I'm making up a word here, or parabolize a parable. But let me tell you what Lex Vortex's main problem is, and I'm going to take you to the root of where all this crap he's spewing that you came from, because he thinks he's original. I'm going to show you where in history this whole metaphysical stuff came from. I'm going to show you where it came from, because he ain't even researched the history of his belief. I did. I had already done it years before I encountered this brother. I heard the metaphysical argument of the Bible. It's crap. And I'm going to show you that. But first, we're going to read John 3 and 12. This is Jesus talking to Nicodemus. John 3 and 12. And it says, if I have told you earthly things, and ye believe not, how shall ye believe if I tell you of heavenly things? This is Jesus telling Nicodemus right here that he sometimes spoke of earthly things. That means plain, without parable. The heavenly things are the parables, the mysteries, the allegories. But Jesus just said, if I have told you earthly things, confessing that he sometimes spoke plainly and you didn't believe me, how shall you believe when I tell you heavenly things, allegorical things, when I speak in parables, when I speak metaphysically? So already this debate is over because you just said the whole book is a parable, and Jesus just said out of his own mouth that sometimes he spoke plainly. That's what he means when he said earthly. That means things pertaining to the physical, things pertaining to the literal. So you already done, dude, and I ain't even been talking 5 minutes. But y'all know it ain't my style. I got to beat these fools across the head and make them realize that they lying to y'all and themselves. So what we're going to do is get very technical. We're going to go to my favorite dictionary, the Webster's New World Dictionary of the American Language, and we're going to look up metaphysical because that's Lex Vortex's angle. He's always metaphysical this, mystery that. He's talking the mystery systems. Do y'all hear this man? The mystery systems. Here's another conspiracy to take you back to Egypt because all that stuff is ancient Egyptian paganism, the mystery systems, the mystery religions, Babylon. Another conspirator to try to take you back to Egypt. They come in many shapes and forms. If they ain't trying to use a sacred name, they trying to use this metaphysical crap. But let me show y'all something. Metaphysical, right? Definition 1, of or having the nature of metaphysics. Meta meaning beyond physics, the physical. That means going beyond the physical or beyond the literal. That's what metaphysics means, right? 2, very abstract or abstruse. Abstruse means difficult or hard to understand. But notice the first definition said of or having the nature of metaphysics. So what we have to do is look up the word metaphysics. Let me show y'all what that means. Same dictionary. Definition 1, the branch of philosophy that deals with first principles and seeks to explain the nature of being. You know, like where we came from. I'm going to read that. And of origin and structure of the world. That's what metaphysical physics does. It attempts to explain, right? Then it says, definition 2, speculative philosophy in general. This guy actually had the nerve to open up in Josephus. He don't even know what Josephus meant when he said Moses began to speak philosophically. Notice he didn't even point out to you that it says in the very book of Josephus that after the 7th day, Moses began to speak philosophically, which implies that before then, he was not speaking philosophically. So how can you say that the whole Bible is a parable and start off in Josephus when Josephus himself said he did not believe that Moses started speaking philosophically until after Genesis chapter 1. So again, you're wrong, and the sources you are using actually condemns your argument. Go back and read it for yourself, Lex. That is, if you can't actually comprehend what you read. After the 7th day, Moses began to speak philosophically. So I'm asking you, Lex, how was he speaking before then? Don't say philosophically. How can you say that when the source you quoted said it did not start until after the 7th day? You can't quote a source and then change the info in it to suit your argument. So Josephus believed at least Genesis chapter 1 was literal. And I'm going to show you that he believed that Genesis chapter 2 was literal as well, even though he said after the 7th day, Moses began to speak philosophically. I'm going to show you that, but let's continue. We're going to go to the Holman Bible Dictionary and kill Lex's argument right now. I'm not going to play around with this guy. I'm going to show y'all where this crap that he's teaching y'all came from. Oh, yes, it has an origin in history. Did you know that, Lex? I've already pulled the veil off of your lives to expose to the debate talk of you audience. This is the Holman Bible Dictionary, and we're looking under the word allegory. right? Which is a synonym for parable, which is a synonym for metaphor, which is a synonym for metaphysical. Allegory, Holman Bible Dictionary. Allegory is a meaning or presenting or interpreting a story by focusing on hidden or symbolic. Is the Garden of Eden literal or symbolic? That's the title of this debate. Hidden or symbolic meaning rather than the literal meaning. Notice it said focusing on the hidden meaning, not abolishing the literal. So when you find hidden or symbolic meaning in Scripture, you cannot say, well, that means the literal interpretation goes out the window. And I'm going to show you that this is exactly what this is saying. Look what else it says. I'm going to show y'all when this bull that Lex is trying to feed y'all first started in history. Look what it says right here. Allegorical interpretation of the Old Testament arose among Hellenistic Jews in Alexandria during the 2nd century BC. During the 2nd century BC. That's 200 years before Christ. Thousands of years after the Old Testament was written. It says the allegorical interpretation did not start until the 2nd century BC. That's when all this metaphysical interpretation started. And it started among the Hellenized Jews. A Hellenized Jew is a Greek-speaking Jew or a Jew who has been influenced by Greek culture and paganism. So this metaphysical interpretation of the Scriptures starts with paganized, Hellenized Hebrew Israelites. And this is what Lex is trying to feed y'all now. And I'm going to show y'all why they came up with it. And it's the same reason why Lex is going to try to tell y'all. Same thing. Parallels it perfectly. A talking snake, that don't make no sense. That's illogical. Watch this. This is the history. Pharaoh, who died about AD 50, was his most prolific proponent. The Jew Pharaoh. That means he was the main one putting a metaphysical interpretation on the Old Testament, which did not start until about 200 years before Christ came. The Old Testament had already been understood to be literal for thousands of years into some Hellenized Hebrew Israelites influenced by Greek culture, which we're going to read, decided to put a metaphysical or allegorical interpretation on it. And this is exactly history repeating itself with a brother called Lex Vortex. So let me show y'all that. Look what it says. Pharaoh sought to preserve Old Testament traditions against Greek perspectives in science and philosophy. Whoa, 2 words that Lex has been using all night. Pharaoh wanted to preserve the Old Testament traditions against Greek perspectives in science and philosophy. What does this mean? I'm going to read it to you. He applied allegory to many portions of the Old Testament where the biblical views seem to contradict contemporary secular understandings. What does this mean? When Pharaoh was among these pagan Greeks, and he was telling people, hey, there was, and they would read their scriptures, and they would say, hey, talking snakes, trees that can give knowledge, that's nonsense. So what Pharaoh did is put an allegorical interpretation on it, on the Old Testament, on the Bible, so it would look stupid to the pagan Greeks, so it can make sense to them. This is exactly what Lex is doing right now. You have been exposed, brother. That debate is over. I already went to the history of where you got that bull from. You think you finna trick my people? Don't think so, but it goes on. So that's exactly what you're doing. I'm going to read that again so y'all can see it. He, Pharaoh, applied allegory to many portions of the Old Testament where the biblical views seem to contradict contemporary, I mean people during that time, secular understanding. Today, a talking snake contradicts secular, that means people who don't believe the Bible, understanding. So what did Pharaoh do? He allegorized it to make it coincide with the Greeks' understanding of that day. Because of that day, snakes can talk. Lex Vortex is nothing but another fallow. That's all he is. But let's keep reading. Jewish proponents of allegory, however, never, let me read that again for emphasis. Jewish proponents of allegory, that means people that believe in allegoric interpretation of the scripture. They believe the scripture had symbolic meaning behind them, but it says, Jewish proponents of allegory, however, never abandon the historical meaning of their traditions to the extent that Greek proponents did. That means even though they knew that the scriptures had hidden, mysterious meaning behind them, they knew it did not take away from the historical, literal text, the historical, literal record. What Lex is trying to do is say, hey, let's make it make sense for our contemporaries of today. Let's allegorize it so we won't look stupid for believing in a talking snake or believing that the Garden of Eden was literal. That's exactly what Follow did. Pick up a history book, brother, and find out where you're getting the bull from. And then go back and give it back to the person who first fed it to you, because you didn't come up with this yourself, because I've heard it before. I've heard this whole metaphysical interpretation. Y'all brothers don't even look up the history of the crap y'all spewing. It's a shame. But let me show you this in the Smith Bible Dictionary on the allegory. Just to prove my point, once again, allegory, a figure of speech which has been defined by Bishop March in accordance with the etymology, that means his definition based off the etymology of the word, not his own definition, as a representation of one thing which is intended to excite the representation of another thing. In other words, an allegory is used to represent something else. In other words, you can't have an allegory representing an allegory. I've already shown y'all that Lex Vortex was wrong when he said the entire book is a parable, when Jesus Christ himself said, if I have told you earthly things, that means physical things, literal things, and you don't believe, how shall you believe I tell you heavenly things, spiritual things, metaphysical things? So Jesus did speak plainly at times. So don't sit up here and play games and be like, he taught in parables all the time. No, he didn't. But look what else it says about this. A figurative representation containing a meaning other than and an additional to the literal. It didn't say instead of the literal. It said other than and in addition to, meaning you don't get rid of the literal, Lex. Yes, there is a allegorical meaning behind people being called serpents and Satan being called serpents or mysterious meaning. Now, I'm not debating that. I'm not blind to the metaphysical. I'm just not stupid enough to throw out the literal. It said other than and in addition to, brother. But let me finish reading this. A fable or parable is a short allegory with one definite moral. That's the Encyclopedia Britannica definition. Now listen to this. In every allegory, there is a twofold sense. In every allegory, you know, a parable or a metaphysical story, if it is a parable, look what it says. The immediate or historic, you know, something is historic, I mean it actually happened, bro. Look up some words. These are the twofold. It says in every allegory, right? The immediate or historic, which is understood from the words, the immediate or historic, which is understood from the words, apparently Lex don't understand it. It said in everyone, listen to this. And the ultimate, which is concerned with the things signified by the words. That's the metaphysical part, bro. That's the only thing you want to focus on. But as Jesus said, if you don't believe when I tell you earthly things, how should you believe when I tell you heavenly things? That's what Jesus was telling you. Jesus did not just speak parables. Where are you getting that from? What Bible are you reading? All you're doing is going to scriptures that say parables and mysteries, but you're not telling people or showing people that Jesus spoke plainly too, and he said that himself to Nicodemus. If I have told you earthly things and you have not believed, how shall you believe if I tell you spiritual things? mysteries. So, no, you're wrong, bro. But look what it says right here. And it says, the allegorical interpretation is not of the words, but of the things signified by them. And not only may, but actually does coexist with the literal interpretation in every allegory, whether the narrative in which it is conveyed be of things possible or real. Just say it right here, bro. This is how the ancients understood allegory. From a historical standpoint of view, it coexists, does not get away or nullifies the literal. So already from my introductory statement, this debate is over. I have shown that you were wrong or lying when you said the whole Bible is a parable and that Jesus only spoke in parables. I've already proved that it's false, and I have gone to the history and shown you the origin of the metaphysical interpretation of the Old Testament, which started 200 years before Christ by paganized Jews. If you still want to be fools enough to continue this debate, that's on you. But I'm letting you know right now, it's only going to get rougher from this time. I'll be back.
Yeah, peace. I was trying to be nice, but since he wants to use words like dummy, we're going to confound this Eddie Murphy sounding character right now. He's talking about Philo. Philo did not start metaphysics. Metaphysics and allegory are not the same. Metaphysics is a science. It's dealing with the nature of the universe beyond the physical. Allegory and parable are different things. Telling an allegory parabolic story is not metaphysics. So what he's trying to do, because he knows that you religious people have this thing about metaphysics, he's taking metaphysics and trying to turn it into a religion. Metaphysics is a science. Go look up physics, the operation of subatomic particles and stuff like that. That is beyond the physical, which is another word for spiritual. The dude is so deaf in the ear that he doesn't know that when Christ said, how can I tell you earthly things and you don't understand heavenly things, then he was really just saying you're dull of hearing. How can I teach you? It's like me saying, how can I teach you calculus when you don't understand simple basic addition? This is what I mean about people who are not spiritual. But let's go ahead and deconstruct what he said. He said something about Philo. This is dealing with the first principles of things. Bereshit means first principles, dummy. When you're dealing with Genesis, you're dealing with primordial forces. You're dealing with archetypes. These are things that come in existence before physical existence. But let's talk about the Bible and its symbolism. The trees, the snake. Let's just start off with the snake. I had notes, but I don't even need notes for this fool. Let's just start off with the snake. In the garden, God builds the earth, heavens, and all of this, right? First, every tree is lawful to eat. We get to chapter 2. It's unlawful to eat. He builds a garden. He puts Adam and Eve in the garden. And then a snake comes. First of all, Josh, what was the snake doing in the garden? How did he get in there? And why did God let him in there? And then you believe he had legs, you idiot. Now we got a talking snake with legs that's conscious, right? But it's not. But the snake is Satan too, right? So then he comes and he deceives Eve. I don't need notes for this. This is just dumb. So whatever he says, right? According to the book, according to what you're going to believe, Satan possessed the snake. But when it happened, the serpent got cursed. It never said snake, but he got cursed. He lost his legs, went upon his belly. This is one snake. Let me ask you, Josh, where was the other snakes? Was he the only one? Why did he get cursed? And then all his descendants, but he didn't have a physical seed, but all his descendants lose their legs and go upon their belly. You can read in the scriptures where this is representing a lowly state, going upon your belly and eating dust. And I'm going to pull up those scriptures, idiot. So then this dude does a show the other day about Blog Talk talking about the snake had to be conscious because obviously it would be unrighteous for God to curse the snake
if he wasn't aware of what he was doing with Satan. So now Satan and a snake walking on legs was in cahoots. They were talking to each other, and the snake allowed the spiritual Satan to manipulate it. I guess they had to have a conversation. Satan had to come, hey, man, check this out, man. Me and you, this is comedy, dog. Hey, check it out, man. I want to, have these two people in this garden, and what we're going to do is get together, and I want to use your mouth to deceive them so we can both get cursed by the all-powerful creator. If he was conscious, he would have to be aware of that. And what was he doing in the garden? Before he started eating dust, Josh, what was the snake eating? Fruit? Snakes eat rats, you idiot. So, the curse happens, and this dude loses his legs and goes upon his belly. Brothers and sisters, if y'all believe this nonsense, it's crazy. And then he was speaking. I mean, he had a conversation with Eve. Where in the book did it say that one of the curses he got, he lost his ability to speak? He went upon his belly, right? He's going to eat dust all the days of his life. Where did it say he lost his ability to speak? And if all the animals can speak, why did they lose their ability to speak? This is just common sense. I don't even need to go into the notes. This is how silly this dude is. And then you want to get into the serpent? Well, go to the book of Revelation, Josh. The serpent is a dragon. The dragon, that old serpent called the devil and the dragon that got cast out of heaven, and his tail drew a third of the angels, so you would have to say it was a literal dragon too. How are you picking and choosing? Was it a serpent? Was it a snake or a dragon, Josh? Was it a fire-breathing dragon? Dude, have you been watching cartoons? No, it wasn't a fire-breathing dragon. And then let's talk about the trees. Let's talk about the trees, man. Let's go to Mark 8:24. And he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. This is when Christ healed the blind man. When his eyes is open, he sees men as trees. You know why you see men as trees? Because the body is a tree, dummy. Turn you upside down and stick your head in the ground. I look at your nervous system. You are a tree. Look at Jude 1 and 12. These are the spots in your feast of charity when they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear. Clouds, they are without water, carried about of winds. Trees without fruit, withereth without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots. Let's go to Revelation 1:14. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before God in the earth. So the all-powerful God has two olive trees and two candlesticks standing before him. Who's keeping the candlesticks lit? You know the candlesticks are symbolic. The trees are symbolic. Whenever you read about a candlestick, you're reading about the Spirit. Go to Revelation 11:4. These are the two, John 15:1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. What is the vine and the husbandman? Is Christ an apple tree? You dummy. Honestly, this is comedy, man. John 15:4. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine, no one can except ye abide in me. What are branches? Through the whole book you see people compared to trees. We don't even know that we can go to Ezekiel, the Egyptian and Assyrian trees. So when you go into the garden, you're talking about this snake with legs, right? Was talking to Eve, and he lost his legs. That's not even going nowhere near logical. Let's go to Romans 11:9. Thou will say then the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. This was Paul talking about the Gentiles being grafted into Israel, which is called an olive tree. Josh, show us where the Garden of Eden is. Because there's 4 rivers that flow out of this garden. There's no place on earth where 4 rivers flow out of a source and goes in the throat. But you know what it does? The cerebral spinal fluid, the brain, comes from the four ventricles of the brain. You're talking about the body. You're talking about the mind. You're talking about thoughts. When Jesus told the parable of the soul, what did he say? Man, someone sowed something in the field, and the children, and he compared it to the children. This, if you want to talk about physical, you can say it's people, but it's really talking about your thoughts and your mind. Because he told you it's sown in your heart. Heart means mind. So you can listen to this guy talk this rhetoric about Philo when it's written right in the book. It tells you what a serpent is. They have poison under their tongues. The word Nakash, did you know this, Josh? Do you know what gematria is? The word Nakash has the same numerical value as the word Messiah. Study the Hebrew language. You don't even know this is symbolism. And you need to study the spine. In the east of Eden, what is the east? It's the right side. The right side of the brain. What is the left? Left means sinister. The prince of the power of air. Air represents intellectualism, deductive reasoning. The right side represents creativity. The side of God, righteousness. You show me physically where the garden is. Or we
All right, time is up. Once again, guys, you're listening to Debate Talk View Radio. The Garden of Eden, literal or symbolic? The Garden of Eden, literal or symbolic? The number is 646-716-7320. We're in a rebuttal part of this debate. So we're going to go to Brother Josh right about now, and after that, we're going to go to the cross-examination part of this debate. So let's go to Brother Josh. It's 10 minutes each. Brother Josh, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Sal. I can see I've rattled this snake, no pun intended. It's funny how the brother can't help but lie on me. First of all, I never said that Philo started metaphysics. I didn't say that. I read from the Holman's Bible Dictionary, and I quote, Philo, who died about 80-50, was this most prolific proponent. That means he was the main one in history doing it. Didn't say the first. So you need to learn how to listen, bro, and stop lying. Second, I pointed out how everybody understood the scriptures literally before that. Listen to the things he's saying. Adam represents this represents that. The brother is giving y'all Babylonian and Egyptian mystery religion. That's what he's trying to do. Look that stuff up. Then he said metaphysical is different from allegorical and parables. No, metaphysical in some senses and some dictionaries even is synonymous or a synonym for a parable or allegorical, because an allegory or a parable is something that is not literal or not physical or has a meaning that goes beyond the literal or physical. That's exactly what the definition of metaphysics means, beyond physical. And you can look this up in some dictionaries, so don't pick the dictionary you like and run with that definition. Show me a dictionary where it says metaphysical does not mean allegorical or parable. In some sense, I read 2 or 3 definitions of metaphysics and metaphysical, and I showed you it gets more than one definition. Some of those definitions do coincide with parable or allegorical. But once again, he's doing the same thing Philo tried to do. Let me read that to y'all one more time. I'm going to show y'all something else. Philo applied allegory to many portions of the Old Testament where the biblical views seem to contradict contemporary secular understandings. That's what Lex is doing. He is applying allegorical views where contemporary, that means our time, secular understanding contradicts it. Our time, a snake talking, that's ridiculous. The Bible would contradict that from a literal interpretation. So Philo did that. He's so fired up because I don't pull the wool off of this wolf. That's why he's so fired up and man calling this idiot. He's mad. I don't doubt him. I don't expose them. I don't lay them bare for the world to see. That's why he's so upset. Because nobody ain't ever gotten to him like this before. And you can see it. But let me show y'all something. Now, let's go to the book. We're going to go to Genesis 1:1. Then he said, that don't mean Jesus spoke to. Jesus did not say, it's like saying, if you don't understand basic math, that means you ain't going to understand this. He said, if I have told you earthly things and you don't believe, how shall you believe if I tell you heavenly things? He had told them earthly things. You can read in the Bible where he spoke of earthly things. The woman getting caught in the act of adultery, that was an earthly situation. Should we pay taxes to Caesar? That was an earthly, literal situation. There was nothing parabolic about that. That was literal. So I'm giving you examples of literal, earthly, non-symbolic situations. But this is Genesis 1:1. Look what it says. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Also notice he ran from the fact that I pointed out that Josephus did not say that Moses started speaking philosophically until after the seventh day, which coincides with our Genesis chapter 1. He didn't explain that yet. So how was Moses speaking before then, according to Josephus Lex? You have no answer. You don't even pay attention to the stuff you read, but yet, I'm an idiot. Who in the world opens up in the book of Josephus anyway in this kind of debate? But check this out. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. How do we know if this is literal or symbolic? Because there's a heaven, which means the sky, and there's an earth right now. We're literally on it. We don't need to have a 3-hour plus discussion on if this is literal. That's the proof in the pudding. That's how you tell if something is literal or symbolic in the scriptures. The context and if that's the situation today. If the Bible says that something happened that made something a certain way, and that way is literally the true way today, that's how you know if it's literal or not. That's simple. So if God told the serpent, on your belly you shall go, and thus shall you eat all the days of your life, and we know that snakes consume a large amount of dust when they're killing their prey, and we see snakes literally on their belly, how can I say that's symbolic? Is there symbolism behind the snake going on his belly? Of course. I can show the same scripture Lex can, but you can't get away from the fact. You can't run from the fact that when you look on that ground, you see that snake slithering. You can't deny that. That's undeniable. Well, the problem is, Lex is stuck in the matrix. He can't tell if he's in the real world or the dream world. He can't tell the difference. So he's just going to make the whole thing a dream, meaning it's not real. It just represents something that is real. Like the matrix was a representation of the real world. He wants to make the whole Bible the matrix. None of this is real. You follow what I'm saying? None of it is real. It's a representation of something else. Not falling for it, bro. But Genesis 1:12, God literally created the heaven and the earth. How do we know? Because it's literally here. Verse 12, and the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw it was good. Do we literally have an earth growing seeds and plants? Yes, we do. No need to debate. We know this is literal because we see the proof in the pudding today. Right? No need to debate it. Okay, now that we see that, let's go into Genesis chapter 2. Verse 4. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. We know that the heavens and the earth were a literal creation, because we literally see them now. Heaven also means sky in the Hebrew. And we know we're on the earth, so we know that's literal. We ain't got to debate that. Right? Then it says, we're going to skip down to verse 8. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden. And there he put the man whom he formed. Oh, all of a sudden now, we don't got away from the literal. For no apparent reason, let's jump to the metaphysical, says Lex. With everything else we've been reading, and even Lex will have to admit, hey, it's got to be literal. I'm on the earth. I can go out to a field and see plants and herbs growing. Sound like you've been smoking a little herb. Y'all want to know the truth. You follow what I'm saying? I can see all of this stuff in animals. So he got to agree that this is literal. But then all of a sudden, when we get to God planting this garden, no, that's not real. It's a science. It's this. Not falling for it, bro. But look what it says right here. We're going to read verse 15. And the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it. Literal earth has to mean literal Eden. If Eden is not literal, then the earth is not literal. And if the earth is not literal, what are we doing here? Oops, must be a dream. Must be in the matrix. That's what this man is trying to do. He's trying to stick you in the matrix. Because you can't go in this Bible and tell me God created the heavens and the earth wasn't literal. Even if you believe there's a spiritual or metaphysical meaning behind it, you cannot get away from the literal fact that it is. So if we got a literal earth, and it tells you that God planted a literal garden on this literal earth, how's somebody going to jump over and say, no, it wasn't? That don't make sense. So, sisters and brothers, the man is rattled because I pulled the wool off of this wolf. I disposed him for the wolf in sheep's clothing. There he is. That's why he's calling me idiot and all this stuff. But it's not over yet. I got more for you. Go ahead, Sal.
All right, once again, guys, we got more debate on Debate Talk Radio. We have more for you. Once again, the number is 646-716-7320. We're going to go to the cross-examination part of this debate, and after that, we're going to take an 8-minute intermission break. Then we're going to come back with a second rebuttal, and after that, we're going to hear from the people out there during the public Q&A. So, like I said, we have a lot more debate for you guys live on Debate Talk for You Radio. For those people that just call in, the title of this debate, The Garden of Eden, Literal or Symbolic? The Garden of Eden, literal or symbolic? My special guest is Lex Vortex and Brother Josh. So like I said, we're going to the cross-examination part of this debate. Each person has prepared some questions to ask one another during this segment of the debate. And each person has 1 minute to answer the question, guys. They have 1 minute to answer the question. Once we get to the 1 minute mark, you're going to hear this sound. Once you hear that sound, you stop and go on to the next question. Of course, I'm going to ask both special guests. Once again, guys, let's keep it professional right here on Debate Talk Radio. Let's keep it clean. All right, so let's go. We're going to start off with Lex Vortex asking questions to Brother Josh. Let me open up the phone lines. And, Lex, you can go with your question, brother.
Okay. Josh, where is the Garden of Eden? Where's the historical proof of his existence? And so that's my first question. Where is the Garden of Eden? Where is it located today? And what is the historical proof of his existence? Because we're having a conversation about Garden of Eden, literal, symbolic, and you're ranting, playing these psychological games, but you haven't shown us nowhere where the Garden of Eden is symbolic. Where is it at? How is it symbolic? Where is the proof?
How is it symbolic or how is it literal? Because you're presenting a symbolic view. That's what you're asking me? You said I haven't showed you that it's symbolic. I'm not trying to show it's symbolic.
Eden, where's the historical proof?
I don't listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm answering your question. I don't know where the literal Garden of Eden is, as well as I don't know where many other cities, let me finish. Let me answer the question. As well as there are yet to be discovered many other ancient cities that are mentioned in the Bible. And
so the answer is you don't know, right?
Can I finish?
Oh, Lex, you have to let him answer. He has a minute to answer.
Finish. Yeah, let me give him a minute. In. As well, they haven't found Sodom and Gomorrah yet. But as history has shown, many places whose scholars believe did not exist in the Bible have been unearthed to be exist. So just because we haven't found it doesn't mean it was never actually there. That's my answer.
All right, man. That's a laugher. All right, my next question. When Adam and Eve, well, what about this? When the garden was planted, right? Did God of the universe, the omnipresent God, come down to earth and plant a garden? Did he have a home? Did he cultivate the ground and start the garden for Adam and Eve?
It doesn't say how he did it. Just like it tells you when Moses died in the book of Deuteronomy, it said God buried him. I have often myself wondered if he personified in human form, took all the shovel and started digging a hole. It doesn't say how he did it. But we know Moses. Can I finish? Can I finish? Let me get a minute. I get a minute.
Ridiculous right now. But go ahead.
Let me get a minute. I just said I cannot show it, but let me finish. What I'm saying is, just because the Bible does not go into detail on how the all-powerful God planted the universe, just like it don't go into detail how he created the sun, the moon, and the stars. It just said God created them. So if you believe that God can just say,
hold up, bro. It says he planted it out in those. It says that. Is that
Hold on, stop right there. Stop right there. Stop. Yeah, Lex, you gotta give him his minute, guy. You gotta give him his minute, and then go on to the next question. All right. You have a few more seconds, Josh. Go ahead.
All right. All I'm saying is, if it says God planted a garden, if he's the all-powerful God, then however he did it, he planted it. I have no answer to how he did it. I don't know how he did it. Neither do you.
I got Lex.
Yo, y'all gotta be kidding me. All right, here's my next question. The snake that you believe was a snake with legs, right? That was in the garden. And so why did God curse the snake that Satan possessed? And why didn't Satan himself get any curses? If the snake was cursed, this particular snake, how did all his descendants get cursed?
The same way.
Was he the first?
Can I answer? Or you want? Is this a two-part question?
Let him
Hold on, pal. If it's a two-part question, I'll let him finish because I want to answer everything. If he wasn't done,
So first, it kind of is. So why did the snake get cursed? If it's an animal that talks on two legs, and then was he the only snake in the garden? Or was there other snakes? Because if he got cursed, all these other snakes lost their legs. What about the lizards, the Komodo dragon, the crocodile? They're all serpents too. How do you get a snake? And if it was a particular type, I don't know if it was if the cobra had legs or whatever. So when he cursed that snake, was he the only kind of his species? And did God unrighteously judge all the other ones that had nothing to do with what he did with Eve?
Obviously. Now let me answer the question. Yes, I believe it was a literal snake. I never said that I believe that the snake had legs. I just said that the snake, in whatever mode of travel it was doing, started to go on its belly after God cursed it. Apparently, let me finish. I'm not done. When I'm done, I'll let you know I'm done, bro. Apparently, this snake was the progenitor or the first or the leader of its kind, which made God curse everybody under it. That's why I'm going to put enmity between your seed and the serpent's seed, just like he put enmity, just like he punished Adam and Eve and all their descendants. Everything he said that was going to happen to this serpent, we literally see in effect today. So why wouldn't I think, I'm asking myself this question, why wouldn't I think it was a literal serpent if I see the literal result of the curse? That's what I'm saying.
Really? The debate's over right there. But okay. So if the literal snake is cursed, right? And you say that descendants got cursed of it. Now we're going into the next segment. He said I should put enmity between your seed and her seed. It never said Eve's name. It said the woman. Now, anyone that I hear teach the scriptures says the woman doesn't even represent Eve. It represents actually the nation of Israel that brought forth Christ. So
I don't teach that, so I ain't got nothing to do with that.
Hold on, Josh.
But either way, you would say Christ was of the woman's seed, right? But now you're saying that the snake's descendants, so his seed was cursed too?
The snake? Yes, the snakes.
So then you admit the snake had a physical seed.
Yes, I believe the snake had a. Let me finish. Can I answer? Yes, I believe the snake had a physical seed. I believe that the snake, the literal snake, begot other literal snakes, just like all the other animals that God told to be fruitful and multiply. Any creature that has the ability to reproduce through sex or some kind of sexual production has a seed. That means a descendant, an offspring. Dogs have offsprings.
I got you.
Yeah, my next thing. Yeah. It's a minute, Lex. Let him go ahead. He has a couple seconds. Hold on.
I'm done. Let him go. I'm done.
Gotta make sure. All right, Lex, go ahead.
In Revelation, it says that old serpent called the devil, the dragon, and also the dragon was cast out of heaven, right? And you would admit that was Satan too. So we got a literal snake in Genesis, and then are you saying, hold on, so is the dragon symbolic in Revelation that drug a third of the angels with his tail? Was that a fire-breathing thing? How is the snake literal, but the dragon is symbolic?
The dragon is a title given to Satan, just like serpent is a title given to Satan. Jesus called the Pharisees, you generation of vipers, snakes. There was an appellation. I can show you in the Bible where Jesus referred to the Canaanites as dogs. These are titles, usually derogatory names. This is what that is. But that doesn't mean if I were to call you a snake, as I did, that doesn't mean that there are no literal snakes, Lex. That just means I'm taking the characteristics of a snake and using it as a symbol to represent your characteristics. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there are literal snakes. That's all I'm saying.
So it takes away from the fact that there are literal dragons?
I believe there were literal dragons. I got a class on that.
So the answer you gave me, okay, if you say, all right, there's symbolic snakes, but that doesn't mean it's not a literal snake, right? So there's symbolic dragons, doesn't mean it's not a literal dragon. Why do you contend?
I believe there are literal dragons too. Yes.
So how do you contend that the devil in Genesis, who's called a snake by characteristic, was a literal snake, but in Revelation, he's not a literal dragon?
Let me answer. Because of what the curse stated, this snake would end up doing. I see the proof in the pudding. If I say to you, Lex, I'm going to kill you. Right? If somebody was just walking by and heard me say that to you, they could get 2 or 3 interpretations out. They could think I'm going to literally take your life, or we could be talking about a game of John Madden, and I'm talking about I'm going to kill you with John Madden. So you have to look at the proof to get the right interpretation. Am I?
All right, guys, we're still in the cross-examination part of this debate. Again, the debate is entitled The Garden of Eden, Literal or Symbolic. Once again, the number is 646-716-7320. So let's go to Brother Josh asking questions to Lex Vortex. And I'm opening up the phone lines. Go ahead, Josh, with your questions. Go ahead.
All right, Lex, you do know the difference between, or what I mean at least, when I say literal and symbolic, right?
Man, what is your question?
No, that was my question. I said, you do know this is a question.
But you do know what I mean.
I'm asking you, do you know what I mean? When I
know that you're saying that because, yeah, I do know what you mean. And I know what you're doing right now is because the fact that...
No, I'm just asking if you understand me.
Okay. Let him answer.
Go ahead.
So you're trying to justify what literal or symbolic means. Literal means literal, symbolic means symbolic.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now look what it says right here. This is the curse that God put on womankind. Unto the woman, this is Genesis 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children. In other words, women going to experience experience pain, like contractions and labor pains when they bring forth children. Is that literal or symbolic? Did that actually happen? Was that literal?
Well, here you go with your misunderstanding.
Yes or no?
Now let him answer. He has a minute.
Let me understand it for you, brother. The reason why you're looking at, first of all, you got to understand the difference between the spirit and the flesh. There's no creature on earth that gives birth without birth pains. When you're talking about Eve bringing birth and birth pains, you're talking about coming into the flesh. That is part of the fall of the Garden of Eden that you don't understand. When you come into the flesh and you have to give birth, then you're going to experience the birth pains of birth. Even when you read in the book of Josephus, and I can read it for you here, it says that God gave Eve the problem of bleeding. But that's why you don't understand that the Garden of Eden is not a physical place. That's why when they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, you got this whole problem with flesh.
Next question. Go ahead.
Okay, as y'all can see, the brother plainly avoided a simple question. He had to pause and think about it. It's a simple yes or no. Do women experience pain during childbirth? Most women don't these days because they take meds, to dull the pain. So y'all notice what he did. The answer is yes. Next question. This is what God said to Adam. He said, verse 18 to 19. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Question. When man dies, if nobody messes with him and just lay a dead body on the ground, does that body decompose and become the ground or become dust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust? Is that true? Is that literal?
Yes, that is true. I have a minute to answer this stuff.
Okay.
What you don't understand, and once again, you're coming into the physical. That's why when you read the book, Paul's talking about the resurrection of the body. Let me ask you this. If you're in the Garden of Eden, right?
You can't ask me any questions. This is my cross-examination.
I've got a minute to answer this question.
Yeah, hold on. Stop. Hold on. He has a point, though. You can't ask him any questions at this time.
I'm not asking him no questions. I'm answering his question. So I know that's your boy, but check it out. Christ said, "Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom."
You just said, hold on. You just said you had a question and you was going into something.
But I'm talking. Y'all are talking over my. Okay, I can talk during my minute, whether I ask a question or not. I have a minute to talk, right? So now,
just making it clear. Go ahead.
Do I get my minute now?
You still got it. That's pause the time. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. So flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom, right? So. In all flesh, you see throughout the whole scriptures that flesh is a problem. Paul said the flesh warreth against the spirit. And then Christ said flesh and blood shall not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Christ also said that the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. So if Adam was made in perfection and lived forever, could he have had the same type of flesh? That wouldn't make any sense. This is why you read through the whole scripture about the resurrection of the body and taking on your celestial body. When Paul says in the twinkling of an eye we will be changed. So if Adam had the same type of flesh, then how is he going to live forever? The flesh is the problem. When you read the scriptures about Jesus, he said all flesh have fell short of the glory of God. All flesh shall be killed. The flesh is willing, but the spirit is willing. The flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. So the problem you have was coming into the flesh when you left the garden. That's what you don't understand. That's why if you take it.
Next question.
Thank you, Sal. If everybody notices, every time I ask him about the physical...
Answer the question. You're talking. Ask me a question.
No. I can give an intro. Don't cut me off, bro. This is my time. As everybody can see, every time I ask him for the physical proof, which is in the pudding, of anything I ask him, he runs from it and want to give y'all all this philosophical crap. I asked
That's
about
not philosophical, bro.
He know that's literal. I asked about the women giving childbirth. He know that's literal. This is my time. I don't want to waste my time on intro. I can do that until I go into my question.
Yeah, you can briefly rebuttal, but go to the next question, Josh. You can briefly rebuttal. Right.
So look at what it says right here.
My
question to you is, if the curse that God put on man, it's literal. We see, I don't want to hear about all this metaphysical stuff. I'm not asking you about that. I'm asking you about the physical. Please answer me on the physical. If the curse that he put on man was literal, physical, about us dying, working by the sweat of our brow, going to death, if the curse he put on the woman was physical, about her experience childbirth and pain, and we literally see both of those things today, why in the world would we make the serpent completely symbolic and allegorical, even though, like the two curses that came on man and woman, we can literally see the result of what God said would happen to the serpent. He said, on your belly you shall go. So my question is, why do snakes literally go on their bellies today if this was not a literal snake?
Answer to the question. It never said snake, Josh. It said serpent. Do you know what a serpent is? A dragon is a serpent. A lizard is a serpent. A snake is not the only thing that crawls on its belly to represent what serpent means. The word does not just mean snake. It means enchanter and magician. Look up the word. That's why you even said it yourself, snake and serpent. When Christ was calling the people serpent, he's talking about characteristics. He's not talking about a physical snake. That is for children. That's why when you read in the book of Revelation, the snake is also a dragon with a tail with 7 heads, all right, that spewed water out his mouth after the child. It's symbolic. It's a characteristic. It's telling you what's happening. So if you believe in talking snakes, show us the evidence or proof of a snake ever talking in history. And if you want to say it changed, then show us where it changed. And why don't the other animals talk?
Next question.
If animals are able to talk, did they get cursed too?
Next question.
Mute them, Sal. Just mute them.
Next question. Let's go.
Thank you. Thank you. What I'm simply saying is this. I ask you, my question is, do serpents, snakes, and yes, when you look up that word serpent, it is nakash. But it does apply in the scriptures, same word being used, to actual snakes going underground. So my question to you is, what type of mode of transportation, or how did literal snakes move around before God cursed the serpent?
This is a perfect example of a serpent right now, because you keep asking me the same question. It never said literal snake in the book. So you keep asking me about, was it a cobra, or was it a python, or was it a lizard, was it a Komodo dragon? So when you're asking me this question, people are not stupid, Josh. You keep trying to go, was it a literal snake? Do they literally crawl on the ground? But are they the only serpents? And what about when Job talked about the sea serpent and the dragon? Do I need to bring that scripture out when he called it a serpent and a dragon? So it makes no sense. You make no sense, bro. And anyone that's really hearing this, that got any sense, is going to know it makes no sense. No matter how much you keep trying to bring me back to, do snakes literally crawl on their belly? When we can read other scriptures that show God said, I'm going to make you go down low, like the serpent, and eat dust. The book explains itself. How was there Syrian in the garden of God? Come on.
All right, once again, guys, you're listening to Debate Talk for You Radio. Hopefully you guys took down some notes, a lot of information that's been put out there to the people out there. And we're going to take a 8-minute intermission break, guys. An 8-minute intermission break. Let the gentleman relax for a little while, get some of the drinks, get some more notes. And after that, we're going to come back, of course, with a second rebuttal. And after that, we're going to hear from the people out there that's checking out the show live. Once again, this is the show where you, the listening audience, can call in with your questions and your comments. Again, the number is 646-716-7320. Don't you go nowhere. We'll be right back after these messages. Stand by.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk for You Radio.
And welcome, everybody, to the Lion's Den. we have a lot more debate for you guys, and hopefully you guys take down your notes, guys. Like I always tell people, you got to take down your notes. Don't take down notes for this one side. Write down notes for both sides. And we get a time to do your own independent research. And, that's what it's all about, doing your research. And once again, guys, hopefully you guys enjoying the show. I forgot to let you guys know earlier, the chat room was officially open, guys. The chat room was officially open. If you want to get access to the chat room, you got to go to www.blogtalkradio.com/debatetalkforyou. Click on this debate, the Garden of Eden, literal or symbolic, and scroll down all the way at the bottom, and you're going to see the chat room where you can interact with me or the people that's inside the chat room. Let me see what's in the chat room right now. We have Biblical Cipher Circle. What's going on? We have Divide Emil Eyes. We have a couple people listed as guests inside the chat room. If you're listed as a guest, that means you didn't sign in officially with Blog Talk Radio. You can sign in. It's absolutely free to create a profile name. So whenever you get a chance, just create your profile and make sure you don't forget to subscribe to Debate Talk for You. Click the follow button. That's another easy way to follow the show. We have It's Real Talk Live. We have Jesse Benton. We have RDA, Sound X Mind. We have so many people in the chat room. So once again, if you want to gain access to the chat room, go to www.blogtalkradio.com/debatetalkforyou. Click on this debate, the Garden of Eden, literal or symbolic, and scroll down at the bottom. All right, so let's start off the second rebuttal part of this debate. And after this, we're going to go to the people, guys. We're going to hear from you and hear what you guys got to say. Again, the number is 646-716-7320. I can't wait to hear from the people out there. Once again, guys, keep it clean when you call in. No foul language. But let's start off the second rebuttal. So let's go back to Lex Vortex. He has 7 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, peace. It's obvious and clear that all Josh did tonight was stick to this snake crawling on his belly. He has not shown you where the Garden of Eden is, any historical proof of a literal physical garden. When I read the Josephus story about chapter 2, he goes back to chapter 1 and says it's literal, but the garden doesn't start till chapter 2. So that was a deviation from the question. Josephus, which he uses, said that when Moses started talking, he was talking enigmatically. I read you the definition of enigmatic. Now, when you talk about trees, the Bible tells you what trees are. And I know dumb Hebrews out there because they're religious fanatic nuts. I used to be one. I'm not going to really listen to true reason, but let's read a couple of other scriptures about the trees. Judges 8, 9 and 8, 9 and 9. The trees went forth on the time to anoint a king over them, and they said unto the olive tree, rain down over us. But the olive tree said unto them, should I leave my fatness wherewith by me do honor God and man and go to be promoted over the trees? And the tree said to the fig tree, come down, reign over us. But the fig tree said unto them, should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit and go to be promoted over thee, over the trees? Judges 9 and 12. Then said the trees unto the vine, come down, reign over us. And the vine said unto them, should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? Then said all the trees unto the bramble, come down, reign over us. You can go read that in Judges. You can read the Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 3. As the apple tree among the trees of the wood, so is my beloved among the sons. Sat down under his shadow with great delight, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. Isaiah 61 and 3, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of the heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. Hold up, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. Ezekiel 17 and 24, and all the trees of the field shall know that I, the Lord, have brought down the high tree, and have exalted the low tree, have dried up the green tree, and have made the dry tree to flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken and have done it. Ezekiel 31, 4 and 5, the waters made him great, the deep set more high, which her rivers running round about his plants, and sent out her little rivers unto all trees of the field. Therefore his height was exalted above all the trees of the field, and his boughs were multiplied, and his branches became long because of the multitude of waters when he shot forth.
Ezekiel 31:89, the seed is in the garden of God could not hide him. The fir trees were not like his boughs, and the chestnut trees were not like his branches, nor any tree in the garden of God was like unto him in his beauty. I have made him fair by the multitude of his branches, so that all trees of Eden that were in the garden of God envied him. Trees do not envy. Trees do not have emotions. Let's go to nakedness. You got to do is always talking about looking upon nakedness, which is another dumb concept. Let's read Job 26:6. Hell is naked before him, and destruction have no covering. Isaiah 58:7. Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to the house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. Nakedness represents being it's a state of ignorance, it's a state of shame, but it's not literally naked. That's stupid. These two guys are walking around naked, and what's so bad about nakedness? But anyway, Hosea 2:3, lest I strip her naked and set her as in the day she was born, and make her as the wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. Ezekiel 16:7, I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased in waxing great, and thou art come to excellent ornaments. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thy hair is grown, whereas thou wast naked and bare before. And in all Ezekiel 16:22, and in all thy abominations and thy whoredoms, thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth, when thou wast naked and bare, and was polluted in thy blood. The Bible explains this symbolism. Only those who choose not to see. They don't have eyes to see. Ezekiel 23:29, they shall deal with thee hatefully, and shall take away all thy labor, and shall leave thee naked and bare. And the nakedness of thy whoredoms shall be discovered, both thy lewdness and thy whoredoms, and the 10 horns which thou sawest. Revelation 17:16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked. Are they gonna take the whore's clothes off and make her naked? So when you read, that's why it says it's a puzzle. You got to put it together. It explains this symbolism, so we know what naked means now. Now we know what the serpent means now. Now we know what the trees mean now. So if y'all can't see that, then you're just blind, and you just don't want to come outside your religion. We can see all of this. It's plain and simple. The snake became a dragon. He can never explain that. Oh, that's symbolic. But the serpent isn't. That's literal. But the dragon is symbolic. That doesn't make any sense. Another thing is when you look at them angels that was put around the garden with the flaming swords, go look up the word flaming. The word is lahat. All right? It means occult teachings. So he put 2 angels in front of the garden and protected it with occult teachings. That same word lahat is the same word that was used for the Egyptian magicians, enchantments. So are you telling me that God put 2 angels to have occult teachings and enchantments to stop us from the way to the garden, to the tree of life? Occult teachings protect the garden from the tree of life. Look up the word flaming and see if it's not lahat, and ask Josh to explain why it means occult teachings and enchantments. It wasn't, the flaming sword was occult teachings. That's the mystery. So when you listen to this guy talking about a literal snake, come on, y'all. Y'all got to be grown men. Even Paul tells you I put away childish things, and I started understanding as a man, and then we ain't even got into the flesh. You got to know that something happened when you fell. That's why it's called the fall. And you see Adam and Eve split in half. The tree of knowledge represents duality. When you come into the 3rd dimension, metaphysics has nothing to do with what he's talking about with allegory study. It's the
All right, once again, it's Debate Talk for you. This is the second rebuttal part of this debate. We're going to go to Brother Josh right now for the second rebuttal, but right after this, we're going to go to the people, guys. So once again, you can call in via phone, via Skype. The number is 646-716-6666. 7320. If you're calling from Skype, simply press the number 1, and we can add you in the conversation. And, of course, if you're calling the phone, press the number 1, and we can add you in. But like I said, we had a lot of people standing by, so I'm going to go down in order and take your questions. So make sure you call in right now if you want to let your voice be heard. But right now we're going to go to Brother Josh for the second rebuttal. That's going to be 7 minutes. Open up his phone line. And, Josh, go ahead.
Thank you, Sam. All Lex Vortex is doing is what is known as reverse reasoning. He's going to places in the Bible that are mentioned later where trees and serpents and everything else is used allegorically and reverse reasoning that into something that was literal. See, you cannot do that, sisters and brothers. The way you approach the Bible is a backwards way of thinking. He's talking about look up the word flaming. How about look up the word cherubim, bro? You went to Josephus. Josephus did not believe that cherubims were guarding occultic teachings. So you're picking and choosing when it comes to Josephus. You said snakes and dragons are symbolic. It became symbolic, all such a dragon. I told you plainly, I can prove to you that dragons are literal. They were actual dragons, and that's in history. You don't even know that before we start calling dragons, before we call what we know today as dinosaurs, before 1841, by a guy named Sir Richard Owen, we call what we know today as dinosaurs dragons. So I guess you don't believe that dinosaurs existed either, huh? So you don't know what you're talking about, bro. But let me show you why you lied again on Jesus. Does everybody remember when Mr. Lexi said that Jesus always spoke in parables? Let me show you that he's lying again. Then we're going to get to this going a little bit. John 16:25. Look what Jesus said. And it says, these things have I spoken to you in Proverbs. But the time cometh when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, but I shall show you plainly of the Father. That word Proverbs, when you look it up in the Greek, is the Greek word parousia. And it means all outspokenness, that is, frankness, bluntness, publicity, by implication, assurance. Look at the words, parousia. What does that sound like? Parable. In other words, I'm not going to speak to you in parables no more. I'm going to speak to you plainly. So much for the whole Bible is a parable, right? Then you skip down and read verse 29. Look what his disciples said. His disciples said unto him, Lo, now speakest thou plainly, and speakest no proverb. So that's a parable too. They said, okay, you ain't speaking parables no more. You speak it plainly. So Lex, you're wrong again. The whole Bible is a parable. No, it's not. You're wrong. Deal with it. But now, let's go to Genesis chapter. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 2. You don't want to deal with this serpent, so I'm going to deal with reality. I deal with you tell us to grow up. Let's grow up. Let's do that. I'm sorry, Genesis chapter 4. 4 and 16. Look what it says. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. Right? So he dwelt somewhere to the east of Eden. So if Eden was a literal place, it had to be in order for Cain to dwell to the east of it. But if you say Eden, if you say the garden wasn't literal, then that means Eden couldn't have been literal, which means any and everybody in it could not have been literal. You can't have an allegorical place that have literal people in it. That doesn't make sense. I cannot live in a symbolic house. I cannot literally live in a symbolic house. So if the Garden of Eden was not literal, then the land of Nod was not literal, which means Cain was not literal, which means Abel was not literal, which means Adam and Eve is not literal. Remember, he said the whole book is a parable. So what I'm trying to figure out is, did we literally descend from a physical man named Adam and Eve? A physical pair named Adam and Eve. Or is it all a parable? You can't jump in and out to suit you. Yes, nakedness represents stuff. Yes, serpents represent stuff. But context is key, sisters and brothers. God told. He cursed Adam, Eve, and the serpent all together. How can you tell me you can see the literal ramifications of what happened to Adam and Eve, but the serpent or a snake going on his belly is completely coincidental? Oh, that's just a coincidence that snakes go on their belly. He keeps saying the Hebrew word for serpent is nakash. Yes, it is. It can mean in chapter. Yes, it can. But nakash is also used several times in the Old Testament for actual snakes. So how can this brother try to tell you that roll with nakash? God did not tell this serpent, you will go on your belly as serpents do. He said, you will go on your belly. You and your seed. And don't let them try to tell you that Cain is the physical seed of Satan, because the Bible plainly tells you that Adam had sex with his wife to conceive Cain and Abel. So that's another little angle he tried to throw out there. I want to see if he's going to try to use it tonight. Sisters and brothers, if the Garden of Eden was not literal, then nothing in the book of Genesis is literal, because the whole story is told from that point. So either your whole book is just allegory, meaning nothing that it said in it actually means that, or Lex is a liar. I'm going to let you choose. I'll be back, Sal.
All right, guys, this is it. This is the moment of truth, the public Q&A, where you, the listening audience, can call in live with your questions and comments. Again, I know you know the number by now, 646-716-7320. Just press the number 1 and we can add you into the conversation. This is your time. Who's making a better point here in this debate when it comes to the Garden of Eden? Is it Lex Vortex? Is it Brother Josh? You decide. Again, the number is 646-716-7320. I'm going to ask the listening audience, please keep your questions brief, because we have a lot of people that has questions, and keep your comments brief as well. We're going to go on to, we have a lot of people lined up with questions. And, of course, keep it clean, keep it professional. There's no foul language, or you'll be automatically blocked from the show. So let's go to the people. Let's go to the first person up. Let's see what they got to say about this debate. Let's see. Let's go to 419-241. You're live in air.
Oh, shalom.
Shalom.
I was listening to the debate, and I just got a couple comments because I heard both sides. First of all, I want to say I'm not metaphysical. This is Sister Georgia from the Biblical Hebrews of the Bible, and I don't teach metaphysical, but I do hear from the Father and the Spirit. And what I will tell Brother Josh, because I'm hearing what he's saying, really there was no concrete evidence given to support what he's saying. I will say he needs to make sure that he understands what our Father says in the book of John and 1 John. It says, you should know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The Spirit is the truth, because his website says absolute Bible truth. Well, you need to be teaching in the Spirit, because our Father tells us in John 4, verses 23 and 24, that the hour cometh and now is when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. And that's what he seeks, because he is a spirit, and that they who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. Now, if he was going to go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 21, it says, unto Adam and also his wife did the Father make coats of skin and clothe them. The reason why the coats of skin, which is flesh, that's all it is. They were in a spiritual dimension. Flesh was put on them, and they were kicked out of the garden. Okay? They were in, just like throughout the entire scriptures, there was always a set-apart place for the Most High's people. But when you sin, just as we've seen throughout the rest of the scriptures, you get kicked out and scattered. What I would tell Brother Josh is he needs to read, study, and come into the Spirit. Go to Ephesians chapter 4, verses 22 to 24. And I'm going to use the pagan words because I know he understands that. And I would like to read that really quick. I'm going to start with 17, though. This I say, therefore, and testify in the Lord, that ye henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of our fathers through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart, who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lavishness, to work all uncleanliness with greediness. But ye have not so learned Yahushua or Christ. if so be that ye have heard him and have been taught by him, which is a spirit, as the truth, that's a spirit, is in Yahushua, that ye put off concerning the former conversations of the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust, and be renewed in the mind, the spirit of your mind, and that ye put on the new man, which is after our Father, is created in righteousness and truth and set apartness. That is why he told you Genesis 3:21, when we got kicked out of that spiritual location, flesh was put on us. Then when Jesus, quote unquote, walked the earth, then he told you to take off the old man, start operating in the spirit, because our Father is spirit and so are his children. And that's basically all I wanted to say, because I really didn't hear much supporting evidence going into the scriptures. But yes, the garden is a spiritual location, and you won't get this unless you operate out the spirit. Now, thank you for your time.
Thank you for the call. Brother Josh, you can reply. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, what she said is the Garden of Eden was a spiritual location. But let me ask you a question, caller, if you're still on the air. Do you think that the Garden of Eden, when you say spiritual, you got to be clear. Do you believe the Garden of Eden was an actual place where people actually lived and dwelled? Do you believe that?
Yes,
I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Father. Thank you. So why are you see, I know who this is, by the way, because I talked to somebody, so I know exactly who this is. This is a sister who didn't want to get at me for a minute. They want to get on my case. But debate talk to you audience, let me point something out to y'all, and let me show y'all how biased this caller is. Notice the caller agrees with me, but yet is reprimanding only me. I just asked her, does she believe that the Garden of Eden was an actual place? My opponent does not believe that, yet she's only reprimanding me. So the debate talk to you audience, ask yourself, why would a caller call in who shares my view, but only say something against me? Because this is something else. She has called me on something else on another level unrelated to this. I've been doing this a long time, so I can see and tell when people just personally don't like me for something else I don't teach, while agreeing with me on something I do teach, but will hold some type of contempt toward me for that thing they don't agree with me on and attack me anyway, even though I'm teaching on something they do agree with me with. But let me show you a scripture, right? She said, I provided no physical evidence or supporting evidence. Wait a minute. Do we not see mankind dying all day, every day? Yes, we do. That's what God told Adam. And the Bible says, by one man, death entered into the world. Do we not see men ruling this world? Men are more dominant in this world than women. That is a fact. God told the woman her man would rule over her. That is a fact. Do women experience pain during childbirth? That is a fact. Do snakes, serpents, whatever you want to call them, do they literally crawl on their belly? That is a fact. How are they not supporting evidence when you see these things every day? You read about these things every day. So don't sit up here and say, I didn't give supporting evidence. The proof is in the pudding. God said something was going to happen, and that's what I see happening. So either you believe God or you don't. But don't call in here and act like you really got a problem with my argument when you just said, and I know who you are, because I know who you talk to, that you agree with me and not my opponent, but yet you only got something to say against me. But that's all I got to say, Sal.
All right, we have a lot more calls. We got to go to Lex Vortex, though, get his reply. Let's see. Lex, you can go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Again, the double talk from this dude. We can see the serpent, man. I said that the garden, right, was a spiritual place, and that when you get kicked out of the garden, did I not say that was falling into the physical realm? Did I not teach this man from the scriptures about the flesh that the sister was just telling him about? So he goes again and try to flip it and says she says I don't teach metaphysical. Again, that is not a disagreement with what I'm saying. That's because of what people, they keep thinking metaphysical means you're just making up something about the Bible. When I say metaphysical, Josh, pick up a science book, brother. That's dealing with physics. In physics, right? This is a scientific fact for all you Hebrew nutcases that want to come against me. You go disprove this, that all of particles This is why it says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. All matter does not come into existence until a human mind observes it. So now you know why the scriptures talk about the vanity of the eyes and why this world shall be burnt up by the elements. Because this is not the real world. The real world is made from things unseen. That's what your book says, Josh. So even if we want to say that the Garden of Eden was a physical place, it would have happened to be created in the mind of the Creator first in the spiritual realm before it even manifested. And when you talk about earth, you're not just talking about land. There is something called the earth plane. That's why when you read Genesis, go look up those words. It's going to tell you primordial waters. These are things that happen. This is showing you how creation is done in the mind. So this is why the scripture says everything that was formed by the word of God. The word of God framed the world. What is the word of God? Is it not who you call Christ? So before everything came into existence, there was a substance that brought it forth, the essence of that substance. So if you're talking about the flesh, Josh, and the kingdom, you cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven in the flesh. Where was Adam and Eve when they was in the garden of perfection? What kind of bodies did they have? Why was it that when they got kicked out of the garden, they started eating meat? Why is it that you see all this physical stuff happening? Childbirth. Why did the split happen? In Genesis 1, they was together, unity. When you see this fall happening, you're seeing the split between negative and positive, male and female. You can go check out the rabbi's commentary and dissertation on this. Go talk to anybody who knows the Hebrew. The tree of knowledge represents duality. It is not even different from the tree of life. It's when you start making distinctions. But I'm going to end right there.
All right, once again, it's Debate Talk for You Radio, guys. We have more people lined up for questions. Again, you can feel free to chime in, though. The number is 646-716-7320. By the way, if you're in the chat room, I'm going to try to catch some of your questions as well. So type in your questions in the chat room, and I'm going to read it out live to the panel, and they can, best answer the question the best as possible. But let's go to the next person. Let's go to 832-292. You're live in the air. 832-292. You're live on Debate Talk for You Radio. Can you hear me? Going once. Going twice. All right. Got to move on to the next person. Apologize for that. Let's go to 414-813. You're live in air. 414-813.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the... How are you? I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good evening. I'm listening. And I still need to find out from Brother Josh. He mentioned about the serpent. And I like to know, because when I was studying my Bible, when I was in my Bible study, I was always told that the serpent was symbolic for Satan or the devil. So I'm kind of confused how the actual animal is being cursed if we're actually talking about a Satan or a devil, because I thought the curse was basically put on Satan and the devil, and only the serpent was symbolic of that. So how does the actual physical snake get cursed with what another spiritual entity is doing?
All right, Brother Josh, got it.
Right. See, she just answered her own question, whether she realizes it or not.
I didn't. I asked a question.
No, listen. I said you just answered your own question, whether you realize it or not. You said, how did the physical serpent get cursed? Right? That's what you said, right? Here's the thing. The Bible tells you. It gives a physical, all these curses that you read about, man, Adam's curse, woman's curse, serpent's curse. All of these are physical descriptions given. I'm not saying there is no symbolism behind that. I'm just saying what we tend to do is we get away from the physical entirely and try to spiritualize or metaphysicalize, however words you want to use, the entire Bible. These are physical. Let me read something to you so you can see this, right? Look what it says. Verse 17 in Genesis chapter 3. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. Verse 19. In the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken. For dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. These are physical attributes, not metaphysical. You cannot answer a physical question with metaphysical.
I'm so in my ear, man.
I can't hear you.
You're loud right now. You're so loud right now. I'm hearing you.
I don't understand anything. Sal, can you understand what she's saying? I can't understand anything she's saying.
It sounds a little muffled. You can speak up, 414. Speak up a little bit. Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is that he's speaking pretty loud. I'm right here. I can hear everything that he's saying. He doesn't have to be loud. We're not in the church.
I'm sorry. What I was saying was, you can see.
That's not answering my question. That did not answer my question at all.
No, this is the answer to your question. These are the curses that God put on the man, the woman, and the serpent. Let me ask you a question, sister, so you can see what I'm talking about. When we die, do we become dust? Do that actually happen?
Ask that.
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you.
To understand the question I'm asking you right now.
I'm asking, Sal, just go on the Lex. I can't do anything. Just go on the Lex if you want to.
All right, let's go to my man Lex Vortex. Let me see what he's on the switch for. Okay. Yo, Lex, brother, you can reply. Go ahead.
Once again, anybody really listening to this, the sister asked him a legitimate question. That's why the debate's over. He went all around it. She didn't ask him about if you the dust of the ground and the other curses. She said, I was taught that the snake was symbolic of Satan, or who you would call spiritual Satan. She said, how is it that the physical snake got cursed if it was Satan who was behind it? This is a legitimate question that Josh just couldn't answer because it makes no sense, y'all. Y'all know it's over. So just stop it right there. Because if the spiritual Satan is the one behind it, and this is what I don't know what he's going to teach, because on his old show he said that this snake, he went far as to say that the snake had its own consciousness, right? So it knew what it was doing, and that's why God cursed him too. Are y'all serious? This animal was a so-called snake. Satan manipulated him, and they was in cahoots to talk to Eve. So he loses his legs and goes on his belly. But what does Satan get? Nothing? He just gets off scot-free. So if the serpent was cursed, what was the curse on Satan himself? Brothers and sisters, this is over. Right there, that makes no sense. This is why I'm telling you, you cannot take this stuff literal. And that's why the sister's confused about what she asked him and he couldn't answer. Because you can't make sense out of that. So that's just like me using a puppet, right? And lying to someone, and then I go to court and the judge sentences the puppet to 100 years. And I walk out the courtroom scot-free. And not only that, we know puppets don't talk. So what is he talking about? So that's it right there, y'all. I'm going to end it on that with that conversation.
All right, we have a lot of callers standing by. And as a matter of fact, let's let you guys know we have 16 minutes on the air, guys. We have 16 minutes on the air, but we're going to go into the overtime part of the show. So once we get close to like the 5-minute mark of the show, we'll let you guys know. In order to hear the rest of the show, you got to call in and listen to this show over your phone or Skype. So let's go to the next person, though. Let's go to 678-544. You're live on air.
A water swordsman, a.k.a. the fireman. You spark it off, I'm going to put you out. Yeah, I wanted to say this Vortex went in, man. like Vortex said, his work at the post office. Now, I want to say this. This is Revelation 12, verse 9, right? That whole serpent concept that Josh is talking about is silly, man. It don't make no sense, no understanding in it. Because when you read Revelation 12, verse 9, it says, and the great dragon was cast out. That old serpent. Let's start there. The old serpent, the dragon is that old serpent that was in the garden. So it's talking about Satan. It's not talking about the serpent. Then it says, called the devil. So when you read the devil in the Bible, it's the same serpent that was in the garden. These are aliases, okay? Then it says, and Satan, which deceived the whole world. So there's the involvement period with this serpent, this dragon, that he eventually deceived the whole world and is deceiving the whole world. So it couldn't have been a snake. That don't make sense, okay? It's talking about the devil. And like Vortex said, it was a spirit that he was moving in because he deceived Adam and Eve, and that's why I used the terminology great dragon, because that spirit that he moved in had excelled to deceive multitudes of nations and people, which he's doing this very hour. I don't know how you can't see that. And that's just a silly, a little snake. Come on, man. But like I said, Vortex went in, brother. You did powerful. It was a good debate. And shalom to all the brothers and sisters out there.
All right, Lex, you can reply, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, that's a brother that got some sense, man. This is not even difficult, y'all. Honestly, I hear people, I've even seen them on Facebook talking about, like, it literally, like, this is not even spiritual, the stuff he's saying, y'all. If you're saying you study the scriptures and you deep and you spiritual, how can you not see that this is not a snake? And if it was a snake, what kind of crazy God is going to curse the animal?
Right.
The animal? That wouldn't make no sense, y'all. The brother just said it. If you want to even get to the spiritual level, you believe in the devil, then you're going to have to say the serpent had to be the devil. And let me tell y'all something else. The word nakash is a verb first. Go look it up. That's why it means enchanter. It can be used as a verb or a noun or an adjective. The root of it is a verb. It's an action. Enchantment, deceptive. You know what else? Do you know that when it said he was the most subtle of all the beasts of the field, that word beast is a mistranslation. This guy needs to study Hebrew. That's the word K or Kaya, and it means living thing. So if Eve, that's the same word used to describe Weezer Fish, she's the mother of all living, K, beast. That means she would have to be the mother of the serpent. It's a wrap.
Let's go to Brother Josh. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, just to go back to the other caller, I couldn't hear what that woman was saying. So I was not dodging. I could not legitimately hear what she was saying. And she claimed that on her end, I found it too loud to her. So I was not running for anything. Second of all, you asked the question, why would God curse the serpent if it was a literal serpent? Why God didn't punish Satan? Other scriptures in the Bible tells you what God don't do to Satan. But let me ask you this. What did the other animals do? Let me show you what Paul said in Romans chapter 8 and 22. And Award the Swordsman, listen up, y'all. It's a serpent. That's stupid. This is Romans 8 and 22. Look what the Bible says what happened when Adam sinned. Romans 8 and 22. For we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. And Adam's sin affected the whole creation. So what did the cows and the lions and the rats do? They didn't do anything. So don't be like, what kind of God would do this? It just said right here that Adam, because of Adam's sin, the whole creation grown up in pain and travailed until now to this day. The whole planet, plant life, animal life, everything was affected by Adam's sin. Then this guy just said that means she was the mother of the serpent. That's a rap. No, this is a rap. This is Genesis chapter 4 and verse 1. Because he's welcome. It says the beast of the field. He's more subtle than the beast of the field. The same word translated beast there is translated beast in the dietary law. And I know Lord of Swordsman don't think when we read the dietary law in Leviticus 11, it's talking about eating people. It's talking about eating animals. Don't play the Hebrew word with me, Lex. You'll lose every time. But let me show you who changed and Abel's family were, where they came from. This is Genesis 4, verse 1. And Adam knew Eve, his wife. What does it mean to say he knew her? Let's see what happened afterwards. And she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. Did she say from Satan? From the serpent? We know at this time she had already been deceived by this creature. So there's no way she would attribute its birth to the Lord, because she said to the Lord herself, the serpent beguiled me. If this was Satan, I'm not saying Satan was not involved. See, notice how he's trying to slander my view. I said Satan was behind the serpent. Why would God punish the serpent? Romans 8:22 just said the whole creation groaned us because of what Adam did. So don't try to play the game of God being unfair if he punished the serpent, when I just showed you that Adam, being that God gave him dominion over the earth, when he sinned, that through the whole creation out, not just mankind, but also animal kind and plant kind. That's why God mentioned the thorns and the thistles. There were no thorns and thistles at first, sisters and brothers. Don't let these guys try to fool you with this so-called high-tech metaphysical knowledge, but look what it says. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. This is plainly saying that Adam had sex with Eve. Now callers, call in and ask Lex, who was Cain's physical father. Because last time I talked to him, he didn't say it was Adam. Now, if you don't change his view, I'm going to pretend like he didn't say that. Call in and ask him that. But I just want to show y'all that this was a literal serpent being used. This is what it was. And that's why serpents literally go on their bellies, because they were cursed. That's why women literally experience childbearing things, just like God said. And that's why we literally go to the dust of the ground. One more point. What I'm starting to see is the debate talk for you audience. Some people don't know the difference between what literal means. Do y'all even know what literal means? Literal means actual. Like if I say I'm going to kill somebody literally, that means I'm going to literally murder them, take their life, not a euphemism. So that's what I mean when I say literal. Well, they're trying to draw a great area between literal and symbolic. I don't know what's going on here. That's all I have, show.
All right, guys, we have like 8 minutes on the air, guys. We have 8 minutes on the air. What that means is once the time runs out, if you're listening on Facebook, if you're listening on social media, or directly on Blog Talk Radio, the only way you can hear the rest of the show is if you call in via phone or Skype. Again, the number is 646-716-7320, or you can wait later on because the show is archived. Again, just go to www.blogtalkradio.com/debate talk for you and check out the show later on. But if you want to hear the rest of the show and hear the final statements live on Debate Talk for You Radio, you're going to have to call in before the time runs out. But let's go to the next caller. Let's go to 314-680. You're live on air.
What's going on? Peace, Sal. Peace, Josh. Good debate. Peace, Lex Vortex. I think I want to bring out something real quick that's kind of funny. And Josh hitting it on the money, but the sister brought out and said that he made them coats of skin. Now, I'm going to mention the class on Monday, and it's going to get real good, so I want you to listen in. But here's where Lex made his mistake at, as once again. Number one is this. In the beginning, God made dry land. That's an element. That's number one. God made the heavens and dry land, right? Now check this out. When you get to the text, it says that he clothed man or made man with the dust of the earth. So hold on. This is in day 6. So then we get over into after day 7, when Adam and Eve fell, after God came back in the cool of the evening, them falling, and we get Moses telling us about this story about what actually happened. So when you said he left the garden and he clothed them when he left the garden, well, hold on. It just said day 6 they was clothed with dust of the earth. Number one is this. Moses is talking in third person, so he's looking back, and he says that what the Garden of Eden was, and he said it compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. So now we're talking geographical now. We're talking about location now. We're talking about east, west, south, and north now. So we're getting off into geographical location now and literal things. Now, if anybody want to know if Eden is a literal place, I suggest you tune in on Monday night because it's going to get some fire. It's going to be fire Monday night, and that's going to prove that these sisters and brothers that's out here in doubt will believe that, number one, that the Red Sea was raised up, but they won't believe a literal serpent. Now, what's amazing is the amazing things that God has used on man and different animals to do amazing things. But you won't believe that he has created other things as well as been the supreme creator and all-powerful. So this is a rebellion that's in these people. So when we're dealing with Adam and Eve leaving the garden, first off, and then you say they was clothed with flesh, that has nothing to do with them becoming a physical being. They was already physical because they was made day 6 with the dust of the earth. Oh, my God, man, this is simple, man.
All right, appreciate the call, brother. Appreciate the call. And like LeVon said, tune in Monday. We have a show Monday next week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So make sure you check out the schedule on Debate Talk For You, blogtalkradio.com/Debate Talk For You. Be here next week. But let's go to Lex Vortex. Lex, you can reply. Go ahead.
Well, I knew this was going to happen, man. You know, a lot of feelings are hurt because it's obvious that this makes no sense. First of all, they wasn't formed from the dust of the ground on day 6, Mr. Campbell. They was made in the image and likeness of God, male and female, he, them. All right? This is the unity of creation. Then after day 6, after the Sabbath, then man begins to be formed dust to the ground, and you get a whole new cycle of creation. You get physical creation because in the first chapter, everything had been grown. Everything was created. He created the trees, the plants, and animals. But then when you get to chapter 2, it says that the stuff didn't grow because there was no rain on it. How do you reconcile that? You can't reconcile that unless you understand the spiritual understanding. Then the guy, I just want to comment on something he said about why the whole creation grown up. This is, these dudes, and it's not a personal attack. He has no spiritual understanding. When you read the story of Adam and Eve, you see everything created. And then you see Adam and Eve created as the crown of creation. There's a reason why you see that spiritually. Because Adam and Eve represent the vicegerents of all things. The head. Created in the image of God. The power and authority of God. The image of God. So if you ever heard, what did Christ say? Strike the shepherd and the sheep shall scatter. So why is all of creation groaning? Because all of creation is in a state of a low vibration. That's why in the twinkling of an eye we're going to be raised up. And all the elements shall be burnt with fervent heat. That's not a nuclear war. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. It's all spiritual. You are in a physical state. That's why Paul said, you shall save me from the body of this death. What is the body of death? So Adam and Eve, when they was in the garden, they wasn't going to die, right? So when they had to came out the garden, that's when they got the body of death. That's when his age went down. That's when they started eating meat. That's when the laws changed. You see a whole change from Genesis 1 to Genesis 2. So the whole creation groaneth because Adam represents the whole creation. He's the microcosm of the macrocosm. And Christ even tells you that. He's the first created of all things, and he became flesh. It said he lowered himself, even lower than the angels, and took on the flesh of men. You tell me one person here who didn't lower himself and take on flesh and die on the cross of their body and goes through strife, pain, suffering, and tribulation. Every person, the mystery of Christ is to rise above the flesh and ascend back to the Father. And whether you do it alive or dead, you will do it. Peace.
All right, we're going to go to Brother Josh in a minute, but just to let you guys know, we have like 1 minute and 42 seconds before we're going to go off the air, guys. So if you're listening on social media, if you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, we're going to go off the air in a minute and 30-something seconds. So in order to hear the rest of the show, you're going to have to call in. Call in via phone, via Skype right now before the time runs out. The number is 646-716-7320. We're going to take a few more questions from the people. And clip some more comments, and after that, I'm going to hear the final statements. So let's go to Brother Josh. Go ahead.
Appreciate that, Sal. If y'all notice that this man is blending biblical stories and phrases with scientific phrases that don't even appear in the Bible and say that is that. I told y'all, that's what he does. He philosophizes. He makes it up as he goes. But LaRon Campbell brought up an interesting point that I was going to bring up. Because if the Garden of Eden was not literal, an actual place, because I'm starting to see or understand that Lex don't really know what physical or literal means. I'm saying that. If you were to ask Lex right now, if you was at his house and you asked him if he's literally sitting there, he couldn't give you a straight answer. Well, see, yeah, but if you go into the physical, no, I'm just asking you, what's the difference between literal? But let me show you something. This is Genesis 2 and 14. This is talking about Genesis 2 and 10. It says, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence was parted and became into four heads. For water swordsman, I hope you're listening. You know why? Because you're a Hebrew Israelite, and you believe that the promised land, Israel, belongs to you and your other Hebrew brethren. You believe that. And I don't think you believe that it's symbolic. You believe there's an actual place over there that you're supposed to get one day. I know you believe that. But yet, you want to go to the Garden of Eden and say, nah, man, Lex did his thing. Well, let me show you how you contradicting yourself. I'm not letting you get away. Check this out. It says, the name of the first is Python. But listen to this one. 14. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is which goes toward the east of Assyria. Wait a minute. These rivers, Assyria, these are actual places in the Bible. And the fourth river is Euphrates. Will somebody please tell me how a literal places can have a literal river flowing into an allegorical garden? But let's look at this word Euphrates. This is Genesis 15 and 18. This is why this one is real important. Because if you're telling me that this was not an actual place, then you're telling me that God didn't really promise Abraham anything. But we see that Abraham actually traveled to an actual place. This is Genesis 15 and 18. Look what God promised Abraham. In that same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, until thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. The same Euphrates that is said is part of those four rivers. The same Assyria that it mentioned. So at what point when these rivers were flowing did it cross over from being an actual river? They're like, picture this now, picture this. What Lex is trying to make y'all think is that you got these literal rivers, because he ain't sit up here and argue. He ain't that stupid to try to argue against there being a literal Assyria or a literal Euphrates river. Neither is the water swordsman. Neither of those brothers are that stupid. They wouldn't try that. But picture this, if you will. What they're trying to tell you is that you got this literal river flowing by these literal places. I'm not talking about the garden. I'm just talking about Assyria and Euphrates. You got this literal river flowing past these actual places. And then at some point, it crosses this invisible barrier to a allegorical place. How in the world can symbolism and literal flow like that? If the Garden of Eden was not an actual place, then an actual river cannot flow into it. That's common sense. If it's not an actual place, you cannot have an allegorical place with literal geographic locations, unless it was a literal location with symbolic meaning behind the literal place. That's my argument. I'm not saying there's not a literal, there's not a spiritual or a mystery meaning behind the Garden of Eden. I never said that. Or Satan's curse, or the serpent curse. I never said that. I believe there is. I teach that. Everybody listen to ABC know I teach that. All I'm saying is don't talk out the literal once you understand the spiritual. And that's what they're doing. That's all I got to say, Sam.
All right, guys, so we're in the overtime part of the show. We only have time to take a few more questions, but after that, I'm going to take some quick comments from the people, guys. I'm going to let you guys make some quick comments, and after that, we're going to go to the final statements. But right about now, we're going to only have time for a few more questions. So please, guys, make your questions brief. Let's go to 860-839. You're live in air. 860-839. You're live on Debate Talk Free Radio. Hello. All right, we got to move on. Go to 817-532. You're live on air.
Shalom. Can I be heard?
You're loud and clear, brother.
All right. I just want to say peace to both the brothers. You know, I learned from both the brothers today. I expected more about the Garden of Eden, you know, just proving it was literal or just giving us the metaphysical story. In cohesion and not just, you know, what trees mean, what snakes mean, this, that, and the third. But I think just presentation alone, I think Josh presented his case a little better, although I do agree and do study what people call metaphysics. I call it esoteric knowledge. But I do study the esoteric knowledge, and I guess I expected a better explanation of the whole story of the garden from the brother Lex, although I do agree with his standpoint. As far as the brother Josh, he did present a good case, although I just have to disagree with, you know, he said Philo was just strictly metaphysical. I study Philo, and I look at him as one of my elders, and he actually looks at the literal as well. He agrees with the literal and esoteric or the spiritual behind the physical. So I just wanted to ask the brothers a quick question. Lex Vortex, do you think the Bible is strictly allegory? I just wanted a yes or no question, and then I have a question for Brother Josh.
Well, brother, at some point I used to believe in some literal things, but the more I study, I'm going to just say that some of the things may be based on just like there's myth is always based on some type of action or something that happened. But in terms of what the Bible is representing and what it's about, it's 100% spiritual. Now, you said a better explanation of the garden. I said before this show that I would need to give like a 2 or 3 hour course just talking about it so I can really get deep into it. But the Garden of Eden, when you read the book has 7 dimensions. All right? So there's a garden that represents the spiritual place. There's a psychological garden. But you know the Bible, if you study the esoteric knowledge, you know most of the Bible was dealing with the kingdom of heaven within you, within the body. So I can make the parallels between the garden for you. You know, in the physical realm, I'm talking about the body, right? The kingdom of heaven is inside of you, right? So we know that you know that the right brain represents the east of Eden. And you know that in the right brain is righteousness. You know that in the left brain is dealing with deductive reasoning and making. So when you look at that tree of knowledge of good and evil, that's when the left and the right brain are not in accordance. You're making distinctions. There's a split in the middle of the left and right brain. And you can come to a point where you bring those things together. But the Christ, where does he sit at, brother? At the right hand of the Father. So and we know as above, so below, right? So you know the spine looks, if I pull it out your back, you know it looks exactly like a serpent. And it comes at the base of the skull. Now, the only place where you can find 4 rivers flowing is the 4 ventricles of the brain, and that spinal fluid flowing from it. Now, that's the physical representation in terms of man, but that's inside of you. That's why Christ said the kingdom of heaven is inside of you. Josh cannot, you read the book of Josephus, he's talking about the Garden of Eden was the Ganges River, and he even included the Nile. There's nowhere where there's a river that flows in the 4 streams. Nowhere on earth. It ain't never happened, bro. So
I got you.
How could you say that I didn't explain that? And he gave a case, bro. His case, honestly, bro, let's just be real. It's ridiculous because it's belief. But, that's the religious spirit. It's Christianity. We was all raised in that, and we never really got into the deeper meaning and taught and how to bring forth the power of the scriptures. We know it's no coincidence that Christ taught from the age 30 to 33, right? And you got to go through those last 3 spinal cords before you get into the kingdom of heaven that's in the brain. It's no coincidence that he got crucified at Golgotha. That means skull. Come on, brother. This is not made up metaphysics. Like he's trying, you just making this stuff up. Well, how's it above, so below? That really means that inside is out. So if you're looking for the kingdom of heaven, and Christ said the kingdom of heaven is within you, then how can I make these parallels within myself and compare it to the Bible? Why is when you look at the Temple of Solomon, you can compare that to the structure of the body. And the Most High in the book, right, says, who's going to make me a temple to dwell in? And then Paul tells you what the temple of God is. And then Christ tells you, destroy this temple, I'll build it back up in 3 days. Where does the Holy Spirit live, brother? So you know what I'm talking about. So what you say is false, brother. You don't want to give it up because you know if you do, you're going to be going against the grain. But you know that don't make no sense. I know you know because I can hear it when you say you study the esoteric knowledge.
Definitely, brother. Hey, I feel where you're coming from, and I understand that you're saying. So you explained yourself that you didn't have time to really break it down. So that's all good. I just wanted to ask the brother Josh a question because I also agree that although that I don't agree that all things are let me put it like this. I agree that you can get allegory from all things in the scriptures, but I do not believe that the scriptures are strictly all allegorical or metaphysical or esoteric. But what I wanted to ask Josh is, because I heard Josh say there's also spiritual behind the physical as well. That's why I believe the brother presented a good case on that point. But I wanted to ask the brother Josh, do you believe that Abraham and Sarah were literal as well? Hello?
Yeah, Josh, you on, brother? You on? Can you hear me, brother Josh? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, I can hear you now. I got you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I may say hit mute. Well, I'm glad you asked that question, brother, because what a lot of people like to do who debate me is they like to create these straw man arguments and they attack those. Or a straw man argument is a view that your opponent doesn't hold. You create that argument for your opponent and then attack that and say, see, I won. But that's not even your opponent's view. And that's what Lex been doing, creating a bunch of straw man arguments. I do believe that Abraham and Sarah were literal people. I do believe that they had a literal son. If I don't believe that Abraham and Sarah were literal people, then let me ask you a question, Carl. I just want to have a little quick back and forth discourse because let's talk for a minute, but I want to ask you this. Do you believe something literal can be created from something allegorical? In other words, if I gave a parable about a man and a woman, you know, a parable is a fictitious story. It's not real, right? You with me?
Yeah.
Can a child be born, a real child be born from a fictitious story? Do you believe that?
Negative. I don't believe that.
That's impossible, right? That is impossible.
That's right.
Exactly. What I'm saying is this. If the Garden of Eden was not a literal garden, then whatever, because the brother said the whole Bible is a parable. He said that. I don't know if you listened to the whole debate. He said that. He said the whole Bible. You cannot put allegorical people in a literal place or vice versa. If the Garden of Eden was not a literal garden or a literal place, then Adam and Eve could not be literal because can you put literal people in an allegorical place, Caller? Can you do that?
Can you put literal people, like you're saying, in an allegorical place or allegorical story?
Exactly. Can I put, like, you a literal man, you a real man? Can I put you in a allegorical place? Like, can I put you in Wonderland? Can I do that? Like, literally do that? Not
unless you're writing a story.
Not unless I'm writing a story, right? If I'm writing a story, but I mean in actual real life, can I do that? Can I do that?
No.
I cannot do that. So when you say the whole Bible is metaphysical, then you go on a roller coaster that you can't stop. Because if the Garden of Eden is it literal, then I can also argue that there was no actual Adam. I can also argue there was no actual Eve. Even you saw that, caller, when you first asked me, do I believe that Sarah and Abraham were real people? Because you know if they weren't, then no literal Sarah and Abraham means no literal Isaac and Jacob, which means no literal children of Israel. Which means how can all of these folks be walking around saying they Hebrew Israelites when they are based on fictitious stories?
But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just wanted to add this so we can get on to the next caller. But although they were literal, Paul did understand the spiritual behind that literal. You understand? Because in Galatians 4, he said it was an allegory between two covenants, the free man and the bond. So
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree. I completely agree.
And I know, definitely, because I heard you say you don't disagree that there's spiritual also behind it. So all I'm saying and all I'm admonishing is that we look at both because we are reading a spiritual book. So although
I am.
If you believe it's physical, I don't condemn you for believing it's physical, although I look at it as a spiritual thing.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Let me ask you one question. The spiritual as well. Go ahead.
Let me ask you the same question you asked me. Do you believe that Abraham and Sarah were actual people? Do you believe that?
Yes, I believe that.
But yet you see the spiritual meaning behind it in Galatians that you're referencing. You see that too, right?
Yes.
So you notice that your understanding of the spiritual did not cause your brain to psychologically dismiss the actual. You notice
Definitely.
that? Definitely. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Brother. All right. Peace, brothers. Both of y'all did a great job, and shalom.
All right, so once again, we're in the overtime part of the show, Debate Talk for You. We only have a limited time right about now, so I'm going to take maybe two more questions, and after that, we're going to take some quick comments from the people. Quick comments. The switchboard is lit up right now. We have a whole line of people with questions, but, time doesn't permit, so let's take maybe two more questions, and after that, we're going to move on. Let's go to 845-665. You're live on air.
Thanks, Brother Sal. It's Brother Stanley of Fender More Ministry. I'd just like to say that, Brother Josh, you did a fabulous job, my brother. And Brother Lex, you pretty much just kept preaching a lot, but you didn't really give any evidence, but you just kept preaching. Maybe you do need extra time to make your case. But however, there's some key points that I need to clear up on this debate there that needs to be corrected. Step number one, dealing with the serpent. I do agree that the general term of serpent is a general term that also applies snake, but doesn't necessarily specify snake. Well, I do agree with you in that, and also Josh agrees with that as well. However, we know specifically that this was referring to snake for one case, because the snake is the only serpent that crawls in its belly. And because it's the only serpent that crawls in its belly, we know that the entity that was being discussed in Genesis was an actual snake. So yes, you're right. It didn't say the word, but the fact that it gave its characteristics of a snake, it was a snake. That was the serpent it was referring to. So now, I just wanted to focus on the idea, on the symbol and the literal. The serpent, the snake was literal. That was a literal snake, and I can just prove it easily. Or before you understand the Bible, spiritually, you have to understand it literally. Not just literally, but literally. You have to understand the words and the meaning of the words. In the very first verse of chapter 3, it says here, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. So now, are we going to question that the beasts were spiritual as well? No. Remember, this is comparative. This is comparing the serpent with the beast, the other beast. It's saying that the serpent was more subtle, meaning more sly, more deceitful. All right, so then how could it be deceitful? Because it was speaking. Oh, so animals spoke at one time. So the beasts were all speaking, but the serpent was more subtle than the other beasts in speaking. So he used words to deceive. All right, so after the deception happened, all right, man fell. But look at verse 14. It says here, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. So pretty much I just wanted to show from that here that it didn't just say the serpent was cursed. It said all the animals were cursed. Yes, just like Josh was showing in Romans, this is also the support that it didn't just say the serpent was cursed. It was the cattle and the other beasts. In other words, it was cursed worse than the others. That's what it was pretty much saying here. So let me another idea of symbols. When a symbol pretty much is a descriptive, when it's used as a descriptive object or a being that is used as symbol, it always refers to something that exists literally. In other words, a lamb. When Christ was symbolized as a lamb, the lamb had to exist literally in order for you to use it as a symbol to describe him, or it wouldn't make any sense at all. So you need the literal so you can use as a representative to describe it as a symbol. All right, so if the literal doesn't exist, then symbols won't mean anything. All right, King Solomon looked at literal ants, and then he said you can learn a spiritual lesson from the ants. The ants were literal, and he says to look at the characteristics of the ant and we can appreciate it. All right, so I have a question for Brother Josh. Brother Josh, can you answer some of my questions, if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
All right. Did Jesus give parables and at times provide the interpretation of the parables?
Yes, he did.
All right. So you mean to tell me that is the interpretation of the parable another parable, or was it was the answer literal?
The interpretation of a parable explains the literal lesson he's trying to teach.
Oh, interesting.
That's what a parable is for, to help you understand a literal lesson. Here's a question that I want to ask you, Stanley, if you don't mind.
Well, before you ask me that question,
okay.
So are you telling me, Brother Josh, then, if it's literal, if the answer is literal to the parable, therefore Christ did not always speak in parables. Am I correct?
Stanley, I showed scripture where Jesus said in John, I read that earlier, where he said in John, the time will come where I will no longer speak to you in parables, but will speak to you plainly of the Father. And then his disciple said, now thou speakest plainly, and not in the parable. Lex said Jesus only spoke in parables. That is all. He got to own up to that. He has to own up to that. You made a statement concerning something Jesus said. And let me just throw something else out there while I got you on. Debate talk for you audience. Listen to all the stuff this brother said, talking about spinal fluid and the right side of the brain represent Eden. Ask Lex to show you that in the Bible. Show you when Jesus gave, like Stanley said, when Jesus gave a parable, he gave an interpretation telling you what it means. Lex is giving you all these parables and interpretation, but he can't show you these meanings in the Bible. He's just telling you, show me from the Bible, Lex, that the right side of the brain represents Eden. Show me where it says that in the Bible. I want to see that. If you show me that, this debate is yours. I quit.
All right, we got to go on to Lex. We're kind of running out of time. Lex, you can answer the question, brother.
Wow. I guess y'all just had a conference about the debate. But if it was written the right side of the brain is represented to God, then it wouldn't be a mystery. It wouldn't be something you had to figure out. It wouldn't be a dark saying. It wouldn't be a parable.
You're reading that into that, though.
Oh, look, you just spoke for like an hour, bro. Hold on.
Can you show it? That's all I'm asking.
In 34, it says, all these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables, and without a parable spake he not unto them. So that's what the book says. Now, when we even look at parables like there was a parable, he said you can't have a literal thing, right? He said, the last brother was saying, it must exist literal in order for you to have a parable for me. Yes, of course. Do gardens exist? Yeah, they do. So I can take a garden and make a parable out of it. That's pretty simple. Now, when it comes to understanding higher meanings, we know that's in the book because it's not even till you get to the New Testament, which is where all the concealed stuff in the Old Covenant is. Even the book of Hebrews tell you that all that stuff was a shadow of things to come. So, and it showed you that the Ark of the Covenant was only really a representation of the heavens. This is the real veil and the real inner temple and the outer temple. And that I can show you that in the brain too. So just because, a literal exists
because I could use anything literal and make a parable out of it. People, that's how the ancients did. They looked at nature and they ascribed it to other things, but that doesn't mean that they was referring to the nature itself, to that thing. So the lamb, called a lamb, compared to a lamb because lambs are innocent and people kill lambs and eat them, and the lamb didn't do nothing. But Christ is not a literal lamb. So, I mean, this is simple, brothers and sisters. And the dude that called in and talking about, I mean, we just went through that stuff, man. I mean, y'all just heard commercial TV and doctrine. All the beasts were cursed. Every beast of the field was cursed and all of that. We know anybody, I'm not going to go through anybody with a thinking mind, know it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. And because he went on his belly, it had to, once again, you just showed, I can take a snake, right? All right, just say the snakes right now, and I look and I compare it to a man right today. And I say, dude, your actions, man, you know what? Because of what you did, you're gonna go on your belly. You eat dust and you're gonna slither and you're gonna be a snake and all of that. So that argument is just honestly, bro, is just not the most intelligent argument. It's just a fact that you have a belief system that you don't want to let go of. So believing it was a literal snake, you know, that's up to you to believe. But in all reality, what the book is saying, the book is not saying that. And he's saying, like, okay, so because there are snakes today that crawl on their belly, that means that the symbol had to be a literal snake. No, that just means that the snake, the characteristic of the snake was used in the symbol. That's all that means. It doesn't mean it was a literal snake. Because
I apologize, Brother Lex. I apologize, man. Kind of went out of time. But what I'm going to do, we only have time for quick comments right now, guys. We only have time for quick comments, and we got to get to the final statement. So we're going to go to the people for some quick comments, and after that, we got to get to the final statement part of the show. I want to make sure I get the final statement. I don't want the show to cut off in the middle of anybody's final statement. So let's go to the next person up with quick comments. Let's go to 347-237. Quick comments. 347-237. You're live on air. Quick comments. Going once. Going twice. All right, we got to move on. We got to go to 708-705. Quick comments. 708-705. Quick comments. You're live on air. All right, we got to move on. Let's go to 646-592. Quick comments.
Hey, peace, Sal. It's Brother Garfield. Listen, man, great debate, guys. You know, Sal, this is the first debate I ever listened from the start to the finish. I even listened to all the commercials. But anyway, Lex, proud of you, bro. You did good. Josh, you did real good too, brother. You proved a lot tonight. I don't know. I can't say anybody won the debate, man. I would just say it's a toss-up, man. It's like a Ali versus Fraser fight. You know, Lex came out, gave an uppercut. Letting the second round, the question and answer, Lex did win that section. And Josh coming back now and doing his thing, you know, as usual. So I'll say it's a time, man. That's what I'll say. All right? Peace, guys. Good work.
I appreciate the call, brother. Let's go to the next person. Quick comments, 315-863. Quick comments.
All right. I'd like to say good job tonight to both brothers. But I had to go with Brother Josh just off the simple fact that there's no proof that the Garden of Eden is talking about the brain or the spinal fluid or anything like that. That's simply man's interpretation of what they learned about the brain and the spinal fluid. Because if you go to a doctor who studies with a PhD and talk about the brain in the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, they won't tell you that's the Garden of Eden. They won't tell you, oh, yeah, this is, you know, the metaphysical meaning for the Bible. That's not how scientists line it up, but that's how Lex, who doesn't like what the Bible says, and he wants to line it up with something that he feels is much more intelligent, which actually isn't much more intelligent because you can't prove that at all. What is the metaphysical representation for Eve? The left hemisphere of your brain, do your left hemisphere of your brain have a baby with the right hemisphere of your brain? They had kids. They ate. They was in the garden. It was he was the keeper. Adam was the keeper of the garden. These things are literal things. Women giving birth in pain. These things are literal things, but yet everything is symbolic to your brain. The whole Bible is based on your brain, so that's not what the scriptures teach you. Because, like Brother Stanley said, you need the literal to explain. And yes, there is a spiritual side to the Garden of Eden, and there's a literal side to the Garden of Eden. But when brothers want to have more intelligence and the ego is way above everybody else's, and they go, like, you know what, I'm more intelligent than you, my argument makes more sense, so I'm going to go with this instead of that, when it's clearly both. It's not that hard to see. But I just want to say, good debate to both people, and Brother Josh, you won again. Shalom.
I appreciate the call. Once again, we're taking quick comments, guys. Quick comments. If you want to chime in, it's person number 1, and we'll add you in the conversation. Welcome. I appreciate everybody that's calling in for the overtime part of the show. We're going to take a few more quick comments, and after that, we're going to go to the final statements. Let's go to 408-896. Quick comments.
Oh, hey, I can show you that the serpent was a literal individual. In the book of Jasher, chapter 1, verse 9, it says, and the serpent, which we can see in the concordance, that's a snake, which God had created with them in the earth, came to incite them. So that right there we can see and prove that's a literal snake right there. That's it.
I appreciate that. Appreciate the call. Let's go to 77340. The comment.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
You're gonna have to lower it. I hear the background, but go ahead.
Okay. Let me turn that down. Yeah, shalom, everybody. This is Brother Mikael. Man, this is a very good debate. I got to be honest with you. It was a lot closer than I thought it would be. Lex has stepped his game up, man. I got to give it to him. Josh, again, though, you got him because it's this one thing that's sticking with me. I think we all agree, like the brother just called and said, that there's some physical and there's some spiritual. Now, when you made the point that if that two literal things can't come from a spiritual situation, and I haven't heard him address that. The book says the first is natural and the second is spiritual. Therefore, the spiritual is not first, but the natural. So, if Adam and Eve could not come from a spiritual Garden of Eden, then that means there was no Seth. If there was no Seth, then that also means that there was no Methuselah. If there was no Methuselah, there was no Noah. If there was no Noah, there was no Shem. If there was no Shem, there was no Abraham. If there was no Abraham, there was no Israel. And if there was no Israel, there was no Moses. And last but not least, that would mean there was no Christ. So what is we here for? We might as well close the book. I think you can get a little too metaphysical and really just lose the whole natural part of it. But with that, I got to say this was one of the best debates I heard. Good way to kick off the season, but I got to give it to Josh at the end. But good fight, Vortex. You got my respect on this.
I appreciate the call. We're going to take a few more quick comments, like I said. So if you got a quick comment, this is your time. Press 1. And before we go on to the final statements, let's go to 440320. Quick comments.
Yes, this is Brother LeVar representing ABT. I would just like to say I thought it was an excellent debate. My problem is this, okay? Now, everybody knows that I'm with ABT, so obviously I'm going to roll with Josh. But this is my thing, and I'm tired of you brothers doing this every time y'all debate one of us. Y'all come on these shows, and what you do is build up these arguments that we're not making. And then other people start to believe that we don't think that this book is spiritual. But that's not true. I like Lex, and I like his delivery, but what I don't like is the deceptive way that he tried to build up arguments that we do not represent. Now, when you're going to debate somebody, be fair. Attack the doctrine. Don't attack things that we're not saying. But with all that said, I'd like to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Peace.
I appreciate the call. Let's go to 646-659. Quick comments.
I think this debate was over at the end of the opening statements. Honestly, that's my opinion. I don't even think it was a good debate. But one thing I just wanted to say was there was a lot of good points brought up by Brother Josh. But one of them was, if Lex Vortex is saying that the Garden of Eden is symbolic, then points I just wanted to reiterate was how could literal rivers that encompass literal locations, literal land masses come from a symbolic place. Like, that makes no sense. Besides that, looks like Lex, you're gonna have to get a job at the post office or something. You're gonna have to give it up. This is horrible. Your understanding is crazy. And like somebody else said, they said, how could you explain symbolism without literal? Like, you can't just spiritualize or make the whole book symbolic. That's a crazy stretch. I don't know how you convince yourself to do that. But yeah, good debate. But this is the landslide, if you ask me.
All right, got to go on. 478-213. Quick comments.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, man. Just listening to the debate, it was pretty ridiculous coming from the part of Lex Vortex, man. I mean, you could just literally randomly just open your Bible anywhere in the Old Testament and just look at it, and they'll say the word of the Lord came to so-and-so during this time, and then they're giving you historical things that happened, or they're giving you historical prophecy. But one thing that was funny to me, like I promise you, I randomly opened my Bible and I was just looking into this, and I was in the book of Ezekiel, and I turned to chapter 31, and I'm reading Ezekiel chapter 31, and it's talking about Ezekiel speaking to the Pharaoh king of Egypt, and it's telling him to tell the Pharaoh about the Assyrians. And when it's talking about the Assyrian, it's talking about he's giving him comparisons to the Assyrian about how great he is, how big he is, and he's giving a comparison or a parable about something, about literal things. And one of the things that he gives him a comparison of is something in the Garden of Eden. When you turn to Ezekiel 31 and I give you verse 8, it says, the cedars in the garden of God, which is the Garden of Eden, could not hide him. So he's telling you right here that there are cedars in the garden of God. And you keep reading down in verse 9, it says, I have made him fair by the multitude of his branches, so that all the trees of Eden that were in the garden of God envied him. So he's giving you an example of something. Why would he give an example of something that's not real? You cannot give an example of something. How can anybody, this is well after the time of the Garden of Eden, how can he give an example of something that's not real? Nobody can understand it. You can say it's a mystery or all this other stuff. That's not a mystery. You can find out a mystery. You can solve a mystery. If nobody can understand it, then how can somebody understand, how fair the branches or the trees or the cedars in Eden were if it wasn't real? It makes absolutely no sense. Josh, you did it again. This was just pretty. I mean, this is pretty much a landslide. And Lex, you said it yourself in this debate. You started talking about it, then you kind of tried to cover your tracks. And anybody listening, you can go play it back. Lex said, you can read in the scripture where they use literal things to give spiritual examples. You know what I'm saying? Because these things were literal. Yes, there are spiritual and literal parts of the thing. Stop making these.
Yeah, I apologize, brother. I apologize. Kind of run out of time. We got to get to this final statements, guys. I don't want nobody to get cut off in final statement time. So, but once again, I appreciate everybody that called in. I wish I could get to every single caller, but time does not permit. I apologize. Once again, the show is archived. If you missed any part of the show, you can always go back and check it out. But we got to get to the final statement part of the show. Let's go to Lex Vortex. Let me find him on the switchboard here with his final statement. And that's going to be 7 minutes. Lex, you can go ahead, brother.
Yeah, it's interesting in the people who came on them lines, but I think, man, I didn't intend to hurt y'all, man. And I know that you can deny what you heard, but you can't deny it in your heart, in your mind. So everyone who called in, of course, there's a lot of people on this line that didn't get their lines open that are open-minded people. But if you look at what was presented, I mean, I heard it in some of the brothers' voices when they, it's a thing where our belief systems basically, it's pulling the rug from under your feet. That wasn't my intentions, even though I know that's what happened tonight. You know what I'm saying? So, we seen that
if it's a literal serpent, you can't get around the literal dragon in Revelation. You can't. I mean, no matter how you try to do it, you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? You can't say it was literal here and then say it's not literal in Revelation. So, and the brother on the line that called up, he was honest about it. It said that dragon, the old serpent called the devil and Satan. So it was the dragon, you know what I'm saying, was the old serpent called the devil and Satan. So when we talk about serpents, I showed you the symbolism of the serpent in the scriptures. Josh himself, go listen to his Blog Talk radio show. So you're trying to basically mix it and say, well, it's both to get around what it really is and what the whole book is and what Paul told you it was. He even told you the letter killeth. And the whole thing is spiritual. And spiritual things, the natural man cannot discern spiritual things. Now, brother talked about the natural coming first and all of that. Yes, that's what that is represent, but it didn't come first in that sense because you were born into the world, okay? So that was the part of you that you dealt with. When you grow and become spiritual, you can overcome the flesh, all right? So you have a natural body, which is a body that is filled with death, all right? It's a mortal body. It says you will put on an immortal body one day. So if you're dealing with the scriptures of the spiritual from Christ's perspective, then you know that the flesh is a problem. So Adam and Eve could not have had this type of flesh. All right, this was the fall. When you talk about me just trying to spiritualize everything away, it's not spiritualizing everything away. It is what it is. The book tells you what it is. You talk about the Garden of Eden and proving something. Not once if anyone came on here, not even Joseph, came on here and told me what was the river that split into 4 rivers in this location and pointed to me today and pointed to me on the map. We know where the Tigers and the Euphrates are. They don't split into 4 rivers. If you want to, then the convenient thing you're going to say is the flood changed the landscape, but yet the Tigers and the Euphrates is still there, but Gihon and Pison is gone. And Joseph has said that it was the Nile was one of the rivers. Columbus found it in Venezuela. Marco Polo was somewhere in China. So these people didn't exist. And you believe they do. You telling me I haven't shown nothing. But the truth is, just like the Kemetic brothers always confound you on this. And it's true. You can't produce a body. You can't produce a temple. But I can produce the temple of the body that Christ spoke about, what Paul talked about. You can't produce Solomon's temple. You can't even go in history and show me David, and you can't even show me Ishmael. You can't even show me someone who wrote about Ishmael. You can't show me in the Bible where all the animals of the world were talking. So that's you made that up. You say I'm making stuff up, but the Bible never says all the animals were talking. And if they all were talking, if they got cursed then they should still be talking, because it would have been the snake who got cursed, but was it the snake or Satan? See what I'm saying? So you're dealing with contradiction here, and you're dealing with being, I expected the reaction from the people, and I expected the people to get on the line who got on the line. But inside your mind and inside your heart, you know what happened. And everyone who hears this know what happened, because you can't deny what's real. The word of God is the spirit itself that you call Christ, not this book. If you don't understand that, then how are you spiritual? So y'all have taken the book as an idol. You worship the book, and then the book itself tells you that wisdom is the principal thing. Right in Proverbs, wisdom is the principal thing in the book. Let me give you something that'll blow your mind, maybe some of y'all might not know. You remember there was a time when all the tribes of Israel were being numbered. The tribe of Judah, which represents light, was 184,000 of them. Do you know that is the speed of light? Are you telling me that that's an accident? That I just made that up metaphysically? Go look it up, man. The whole book is about light. And when you deal with light, you're talking about the very thing, photons, that represent this reality, physical matter itself. That's the veil that you can't see behind.
Did you know there was an actual veil in between your brain before you get to the root of it? So, I mean, you know, like I said, I have mad respect for Josh. I mean, when it comes to the way he teaches in that forum, in terms of that Christian forum, he's solid. But the brothers just don't have this understanding. And a lot of the brothers that called in and teach the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, they don't understand the esoteric nature of this book. And the other brother I spoke to knows that. That's why I had that conversation with him. So, you know, it's clear. I don't have to feel like, you know what I'm saying, I didn't come to personally destroy Josh, really, you know what I'm saying, or nothing like that. You know, I think he's still a brilliant brother. But I just think that it's just, like the book says, blind eyes. Matter of fact, I wanted to read something real quick from, if I got time real quick, to let you know about dimensions. Well, let me just tell you, remember the story of Elisha, 2 Kings 6:17? And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, thee open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened his eyes and of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses, chariots, and the fire round about Elisha. Now, this will let you know that dimensions exist right where you're standing. Why couldn't he see those chariots when he was scared and Elijah was cool? He couldn't see the angels around the mountain. This is also symbolic of having vision beyond the veil in the other dimensions. All right? Why do you think when Paul got knocked off the horse or whatever, he said they didn't see it or hear it?
All right, that was the final statement. That was Lex Vortex. Once again, I appreciate you, brother, for coming on the platform, and I actually gave you 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Because you wanted to read that, information. So I'm going to have to give that to Brother Josh as well. For those out there that want to reach out to Lex Vortex, I have all the information in the description box. Just go to www.blogtalkradio.com/debate talk for you. Click on this debate and scroll down, and you're going to see his Facebook page, YouTube, and his Facebook group that he has on Facebook. So I'm going to add his email later on as well, so you can, check him out. But let's go to Brother Josh. Right now, this is the final statements. Like I said, let's go to Brother Josh. You can go ahead, brother.
Thank you, Sal, and thank you, Lex, for challenging me to a debate. But I just got to be honest with you, bro. You lost, and you need to take your L like a man. You thought you was going to come in here and roll over with all this philosophical, pulling stuff out the mid-air nonsense that you on, and you thought the debate talk for you audience was going to fall for that. Even your own people who say they can see your point said they can't get around the points that I brought up, and they saw that you didn't address them. You're trying to make people think. Bro, I challenge you to another kind of debate, not a one-on-one debate. I challenge you to break down the Garden of Eden from a metaphysical standpoint of view. Just do a lesson, strictly from the Bible, and I can do the same thing, and I guarantee you that everything I say will be from the Bible, and you have to add stuff that you cannot read in the Bible. All this crap about spinal fluids and the right side of your brain, you can't read none of that crap in the Bible. But you expect us, and then we say, well, where is that in the Bible? See, you got to be spiritual to see it. That's a cop-out line. Every time somebody tell you something, and we can't see it in the Bible, and we just say, show it up in the Bible, y'all want to claim we blind. So that means that's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Y'all ever play Monopoly, how when somebody gets put in jail, they use the get-out-of-jail-free card. It allows you to get out of jail without having to wait like 3 turns or something. That's how y'all use that metaphysical stuff, like a get-out-of-jail-free card. When somebody back you into a corner, you try to say, well, it's spiritual. You got to be spiritual to understand it. Bruh, we're not falling for that. But I want y'all to listen to his closing statement again, debate talk to you audience. Look what this man was saying. You can't prove that was Ishmael. This man does not really believe the Bible. But he's stuck in limbo. He's stuck between not being able to accept the Bible as it's written versus being an atheist. So in order to cope, he has created a psychological defense mechanism which makes him try to rationalize the stories in the Bible to make them line up with how the world sees logic today. And that's all he's doing. I already showed you the history of where his doctrine came from. This man has been shown the history of his doctrine, and he's still trying to fight me. I proved when it started, 2nd century B.C., about 200 years before Christ. I showed you why they did it. They did it because the paganized, Hellenized Jews did not like the Greeks making fun of their religion. So they allegorized the stories so it can coincide with contemporary secular thought. Hence, metaphysics, science. Lex is doing the same thing. A word of Thorpe. You can't see that. You don't see this is history repeating itself? Well, let me show you something. This is Isaiah 51:3. Because that's one made a point. I want to throw this out. Look what it says right. We're going to start at verse 1. It says, hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, that ye seek the Lord. Look into the rock whence you are hewn, and to the hole of the pit whence you are digged. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah. These were literal people. God is telling the children of Israel to look to them. And to the hole of the pit which you are dead of it. For I called him alone and blessed him and increased him. Verse 3. For the Lord shall comfort Zion. That is a literal place. That's Jerusalem. That exists right now. That's Palestine. Right? Look what it says. He will comfort her waste places. He will make her wilderness like Eden and her desert like the garden of the Lord. How can you make a biblical place like a symbolic place? Or why would you use a symbolic place as a description of how you're going to fix up a literal place? There had to be a literal Garden of Eden for God to give the children of Israel an idea of how Jerusalem or Zion would look once he repaired it. Otherwise, it was like, what does he mean? How can our city be like the Garden of Eden? It wasn't even a real place. Doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Let me show you another example of that. This is Ezekiel 36. So you can see that they compared these places, literal places, to the Garden of Eden. Doesn't make sense to use a symbolic place to describe the physical place. You follow what I'm saying? How would you understand it? They're like me saying, I'm going to make y'all, the debate talk for you audience, I'm going to make y'all home like my home. You would have to visit my home or actually see my home on TV to understand what I mean. But if I never show you my home or explain it, you won't get the parable. You won't get the metaphor. So it has to be a literal place for you to understand how I can make your home like mine. It's common sense. But I'm starting to learn that common sense ain't so common anymore. But this is Ezekiel 36, 33 to 35. Look what it says right here. And then we're going to close this bad boy down. It says, thus says the Lord God, in the day that I have cleansed you from your iniquities, from out Israel, I will cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be built. These are actual cities that's going to be rebuilt. And the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden. How can they say that when the Garden of Eden wasn't a literal place? How can they make that comparison? How can I say, I'm going to make the debate talk for you audiences home like my home, but don't ever tell y'all what my home is like or show it to you? You will not understand me. I would have to show you. It would have to be a literal place. You'll say, what do you mean, Josh? Let me go to my final one. Let's go to Colossians chapter 2. Because this is what Paul warned us about, and this is exactly what Lex is trying to give y'all. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. And it says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. Don't let nobody spoil you through philosophy, sisters and brothers. I already showed you that the metaphysical or allegory interpretation of the Old Testament started in the 2nd century. I showed you from history that before then, our Hebrew forefathers understood this stuff to be literal. They did not believe the way Lex Vortex believed. So if a lot of sources is gonna side with Lex, that means you are disagreeing with Moses, because history says Moses never believed that to be literal. So go ahead and follow Lex into the vortex of hell. The Garden of Eden was a literal place, sisters and brothers. It was not allegorical, though it does have allegorical meaning behind it. And in a later class, I can show it all to you. But don't lie, Lex, and say we don't see the Spirit. Oh, ABT sees the Spirit. And I'm going to show y'all that in another class, perhaps even another debate. Thanks for your time.